The little girl, the cleaner's daughter, saved the millionaire with just one sentence. "Don't go into that room, you're in danger." The millionaire was completely shocked when he found out what was about to happen. Nathaniel Carter's footsteps echoed through the marble floors of Horizon Innovations headquarters as he strode purposefully toward the executive elevator. His tailored suit and commanding presence turned heads, as usual, but his mind was elsewhere, focused on the upcoming board meeting, where he would present his latest acquisition proposal. The morning sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting long shadows across the lobby. At 42, Nathaniel had built his empire from scratch, transforming a small tech startup into a billion-dollar corporation. Today's meeting would seal another victory, adding a promising renewable energy company to his growing portfolio. He glanced at his phone, noting he was running slightly behind schedule. The message from his assistant reminded him that the board members were already gathering in the conference room on the 40th floor. Nathaniel wasn't concerned. They would wait. They always did. The lobby buzzed with the usual morning activity. Employees rushing to their offices, security guards making their rounds, and the occasional visitor being escorted to their destination. Everything seemed normal, predictable, just another day in the life of a successful CEO, until it wasn't. "Don't go up there. You're in danger." The shrill voice cut through the ambient noise like a knife, causing Nathaniel to stop abruptly. He turned, searching for the source of the warning, and found himself staring into the wide, frightened eyes of a young girl. She couldn't have been more than 8 years old, wearing a simple blue dress and clutching a worn teddy bear to her chest. "What?" Nathaniel asked, his usual composure slightly shaken by the urgency in the child's voice. The girl took a step forward, her small fingers tightening around her teddy bear. "They're going to trap you. I heard them talking. Please, you have to believe me." Something in her voice, in the genuine terror reflected in her eyes, made Nathaniel pause. He'd learned long ago to trust his instincts, and right now every fiber of his being was telling him to listen. "Who are you? What did you hear?" He moved closer to the girl, lowering his voice to avoid drawing more attention than they already had. "I'm Emma," she whispered, glancing nervously around the lobby. "My mom works here. She had to bring me today, because my aunt is sick and couldn't watch me. I was playing hide-and-seek in the maintenance room when I heard them talking about you." Nathaniel knelt down to her level, noting the slight trembling of her hands. "What exactly did you hear?" "Emma, they said they were going to make it look like you did something bad. They have papers and stuff ready in the conference room. They're going to trick you." Emma's voice cracked with emotion. "Please, Mr. Carter, you can't go up there. They want to hurt you." The mention of papers triggered something in Nathaniel's memory. Last week, his head of security had reported unusual activity in the company's digital archives, but the IT department had dismissed it as routine system maintenance. Now, those seemingly unrelated events were starting to form a disturbing pattern. He pulled out his phone again, this time to call his head of security, Michael Reynolds. As he waited for the call to connect, he noticed a subtle movement near the security desk. One of the guards was speaking urgently into his radio while watching them. "Michael," Nathaniel spoke quietly into the phone, "implement Protocol Delta immediately and send someone to the lobby. I need an escort for 2 people. Emma tugged at his sleeve. "There's more," she whispered. "They said something about your computer and phones being watched. They can see everything." Nathaniel's mind raced through the implications. If what Emma was saying was true, his entire corporate security had been compromised. The board meeting wasn't just a meeting, it was a trap, carefully orchestrated to remove him from his own company. Looking at the scared but determined little girl before him, Nathaniel made a decision that would change both their lives forever. He reached for Emma's hand, speaking in a gentle but firm voice. "Emma, where is your mother right now?" "She's cleaning the offices on the 32nd floor," Emma replied, clutching her teddy bear tighter. "We need to get her," Nathaniel stated. "But first, we have to leave this building. Will you trust me?" Emma nodded, her eyes never leaving his face. "I trust you, Mr. Carter. That's why I had to warn you." As they moved toward the side exit, Nathaniel noticed more security personnel entering the lobby. Their movements were too coordinated, too focused. This wasn't routine patrol, they were searching for someone. The trap wasn't just set for the conference room, it extended throughout the entire building. Nathaniel guided Emma toward a service entrance he rarely used, one that led to a private parking area reserved for executive staff. His mind was already formulating a plan. They would need to secure Emma's mother, access his off-site servers, and identify who was behind this attempted coup. But first, they needed to disappear. The executive parking garage was eerily quiet as Nathaniel guided Emma through the rows of luxury vehicles. His personal security team would be arriving any minute, but time was of the essence. They needed to reach Emma's mother before anyone realized what was happening. "Mr. Carter," Emma whispered, still clutching her teddy bear. "My mom doesn't have her phone today. It broke yesterday, and she hasn't gotten a new one yet." Nathaniel nodded, processing this information. In a way, this was fortunate. If the conspiracy ran as deep as he suspected, they wouldn't be able to track Lucy through her device. "Tell me more about your mom, Emma. What's her name? What does she look like?" "Her name is Lucy Thompson," Emma replied, her small feet hurrying to keep up with Nathaniel's stride. "She has long dark hair that she always wears in a braid. She's wearing her blue uniform today and she's really pretty." As they approached his private elevator, a secure line that required both fingerprint and retinal scanning, Nathaniel's phone buzzed. Michael had texted, "Building security compromised. Trust no one in uniform. Extraction team 3 minutes. Out." The elevator would take them directly to the 32nd floor, bypassing the regular security checkpoints. It was a risk, but a calculated one. Nathaniel placed his palm on the scanner, then bent down for the retinal scan. The doors opened with a soft chime. "Emma, I need you to be very brave now," he said as they entered the elevator. "When we find your mom, she might be scared or confused. Can you help me explain to her what's happening?" The little girl nodded solemnly. "Mom always says I'm good at explaining things, but Mr. Carter..." She looked up at him with worried eyes. "The bad people, they said they have pictures of you doing bad things. But they're lying, right?" Nathaniel felt a chill run down his spine. Fabricated evidence would be the least of his concerns if they didn't make it out of the building in time. "They're lying, Emma. Sometimes adults do bad things because they want power or money. But that's why it's so important that you warned me." The elevator moved swiftly and silently. Nathaniel used these moments to send encrypted messages to his most trusted allies outside the company. Years of business dealings had taught him to prepare for betrayal, and he'd set up secure channels and protocols for exactly this type of situation. When the doors opened on the 32nd floor, they stepped into a seemingly empty corridor. The cleaning supplies cart near the window suggested that someone was working nearby. "Mum usually starts with the corner offices," Emma whispered, pointing to the left. They moved quietly through the floor, checking each office. In the third room, they found a woman with a long, dark braid, dusting the extensive bookshelves that lined the walls. She turned at the sound of their footsteps, and her eyes widened in recognition, both of her daughter and of the man whose name was on the building. "Emma?" "Mr. Carter." Lucy Thompson straightened immediately, confusion and concern evident on her face. "What's happening? Emma, you were supposed to stay in the break room." "Mom!" Emma rushed forward. "I had to save Mr. Carter. They were going to hurt him." Lucy's expression shifted from confusion to alarm. "What do you mean, mi amor? Who was going to hurt him?" Nathaniel stepped forward, his voice low and urgent. "Mrs. Thompson, I apologize for the unusual circumstances, but your daughter overheard a conversation that saved my life. Right now, we need to leave the building immediately. I promise I'll explain everything, but we have less than 2 minutes before. This floor is swarmed with security personnel who mean us harm." Lucy looked from her daughter to Nathaniel and back again. Years of raising Emma alone had honed her instincts for protecting her child, and something in Nathaniel's eyes told her he was telling the truth. "The security guards have been acting strange all week," she said, removing her cleaning apron. "Yesterday I saw them installing new cameras in unusual places, and they made us clean the executive floor at odd hours." A distant ding from the main elevators spurred them into action. Nathaniel guided them toward his private elevator, his hand hovering protectively near Lucy's back. The sound of multiple footsteps echoed from around the corner. "Trust me," Nathaniel said, meeting Lucy's eyes. In that brief moment, something passed between them, an understanding, a recognition of the gravity of their situation. Lucy took Emma's hand and nodded. "We trust you, Mr. Carter." As they reached the elevator, Nathaniel's phone vibrated with an urgent message. The extraction team was in position, but they'd detected armed security teams converging on their location. Whatever was supposed to happen in that board meeting, the conspirators had planned for every contingency. What they hadn't planned for was a little girl with a teddy bear who happened to be in the right place at the right time. The private elevator descended smoothly, but the tension inside was palpable. Nathaniel kept his eyes fixed on his phone, monitoring the messages from his security team, while Lucy held Emma close. The little girl's teddy bear remained clutched tightly in her arms, a silent witness to their escape. "Mrs. Thompson," Nathaniel spoke softly, "I have a secure location where we can go. My team has detected surveillance on all your known addresses, so returning home isn't safe right now." Lucy's fingers tightened slightly around Emma's shoulders. "How did this happen? Who are these people?" "I have my suspicions," Nathaniel replied, his jaw tightening. "But I need to confirm them before making any accusations. What I do know is that they've been planning this for months, maybe longer." The elevator stopped at the underground parking level, but Nathaniel held up his hand, preventing the doors from opening immediately. Through his phone, he watched the security feed his team had managed to hack into. 3 men in suits were patrolling the area, their movements suggesting military training rather than typical security personnel. "When these doors open," he whispered, "we'll need to move quickly and quietly. Emma, can you do that?" The little girl nodded solemnly, her eyes wide but determined. A message flashed on his phone. "Northeast corner clear. Black SUV waiting. 30 seconds. Nathaniel took a deep breath. "Lucy, take my jacket." He removed his expensive suit jacket and handed it to her. "Put it on Emma. If anyone sees us, we want them to think she's just my daughter being escorted out for an emergency." Lucy helped Emma into the oversized jacket, which nearly swallowed the small girl. The sight would have been amusing under different circumstances. The phone buzzed again. "Clear. Now." The doors opened, and Nathaniel led them through the dimly lit parking garage, his steps confident and measured, despite the urgency of their situation. Lucy matched his pace perfectly, while Emma practically tiptoed, treating their escape like a game she was determined to win. They reached the black SUV just as another elevator dinged in the distance. Michael Reynolds, Nathaniel's head of security, stood by the vehicle's door, his expression grim but professional. He helped Emma into the back seat first, then Lucy, before turning to Nathaniel. "Sir, we've detected unauthorized access to the building's mainframe. They're trying to lock down all exits." Nathaniel nodded, already sliding into the back seat, beside Lucy and Emma. "Get us out of here, Michael. Use Protocol 7 routing." As the SUV pulled away from the building, Lucy noticed several security vehicles rushing into the garage. Their lights were flashing, but no sirens wailed. Whatever was happening, they wanted to keep it quiet. "Mr. Carter," Emma whispered, her small face peering out the tinted windows. "Those aren't the regular security cars." Nathaniel turned to look at the child, impressed by her observation. "You're right, Emma. How did you know?" "The regular cars have blue stripes on the sides. These ones are all black." Lucy wrapped an arm around her daughter, pride mixing with concern. "She notices everything, sometimes too much." The SUV wound its way through the city's morning traffic, taking seemingly random turns and occasionally doubling back on its route. Michael drove with the precision of someone who had trained for exactly this type of situation, while another member of Nathaniel's security team monitored their surroundings from the passenger seat. After 20 minutes of careful navigation, they pulled into an underground garage beneath an unremarkable office building in a quiet part of the city. Unlike Horizon Innovation's gleaming skyscraper, this building was deliberately ordinary, the kind that people's eyes would skip over without a second thought. "Welcome to the Haven," Nathaniel said as they exited the vehicle. "This is one of my contingency locations. The entire building is secure, and only a handful of people know of its existence." The elevator here required a different set of security protocols, and as they ascended, Lucy noticed that none of the floor numbers were marked. They stopped at what she guessed was the 10th floor, stepping out into a surprisingly comfortable living space. The apartment was spacious but not luxurious, decorated in neutral tones with practical furniture. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the city, but Lucy noticed that the glass had an unusual tint to it. One-way ballistic glass, Nathaniel explained, catching her observation. We can see out, but no one can see in. Emma, still wearing Nathaniel's oversized jacket, wandered into the living room area, her eyes wide with curiosity. It looks like a normal house, she said, sounding almost disappointed. Nathaniel couldn't help but smile. Sometimes the best hiding places are the ones that don't look special at all. Now we need to figure out exactly what's happening at Horizon Innovations and why someone went to such lengths to set a trap for me. Lucy sat down on one of the comfortable chairs, finally allowing herself to process the morning's events. The conversation Emma overheard, what exactly did they say? Before Emma could answer, Nathaniel's phone buzzed with an urgent message. The color drained from his face as he read it. They're not just trying to take my company, he said quietly. They're trying to erase my entire life. The afternoon sun cast long shadows through the tinted windows as Nathaniel paced the living room, his phone continuously buzzing with updates. Lucy had made coffee using the kitchen's well-stocked supplies, and Emma had fallen asleep on the couch, exhausted from the morning's excitement. They're systematic, Nathaniel explained to Lucy, keeping his voice low to avoid waking Emma. In the last 4 hours, they've frozen my personal accounts, initiated an SEC investigation based on fabricated evidence, and released a series of damaging news stories to the press. Lucy watched him carefully, noting the tension in his shoulders and the way his hand occasionally trembled when reaching for his coffee cup. But why? What could be worth all this effort? Nathaniel sat down across from her, running a hand through his usually immaculate hair. 3 days ago, I discovered something in our company's renewable energy division, a breakthrough that could revolutionize solar power storage. The research team estimated its value at billions. And someone wants to steal it, Lucy concluded, her years of observing corporate dynamics from the shadows giving her a unique perspective. But they couldn't just take it, could they? They needed to discredit you first. Exactly. Nathaniel leaned forward, impressed by her insight. The technology is protected by multiple patents and security measures. The only way to gain control of it would be to remove me from the company entirely, preferably in disgrace. Emma stirred slightly in her sleep, clutching her teddy bear closer. Lucy adjusted the light blanket over her daughter, her maternal instincts warring with her growing concern about their situation. Mr. Carter, Nathaniel, please, he interrupted gently. I think we're well past formalities. Nathaniel, Lucy corrected, a slight smile softening her worried expression. What exactly did they plan to do in that board meeting? He pulled out a tablet, accessing a secure server. Thanks to Michael's team, we've managed to recover some of the files they planted. They created an elaborate paper trail showing me embezzling company funds, selling corporate secrets, and engaging in insider trading. The evidence is sophisticated. Bank statements, emails, even video recordings that have been perfectly doctored. But surely there's proof that these are fake. That's the brilliant part of their plan. They didn't just create false evidence, they've been systematically destroying the real records. If I had walked into that board meeting, I would have found myself facing not just the board, but also federal agents, with what appeared to be ironclad evidence of my crimes. Lucy's mind went back to the cleaning schedule changes of the past few weeks. They've been preparing the building too. New security cameras, changed protocols, different maintenance routines. We all thought it was just corporate restructuring, but they were setting the stage. Nathaniel nodded, making notes on his tablet. Every detail was planned except for Emma, Lucy finished, looking at her sleeping daughter with a mixture of pride and fear. But how did she end up in position to overhear their conversation? That's something we need to figure out, Nathaniel replied, his expression thoughtful. It might help us identify who's behind this. Emma mentioned she was in the maintenance room when she overheard them. Do you remember anything unusual about your schedule yesterday? Lucy's eyes widened as realization struck. The 39th floor. I was supposed to clean it last night, but the supervisor suddenly changed my assignment to the lower floors. I had to bring Emma because my sister was sick, and the break room on the 2nd floor was being renovated, so the supervisor suggested she could stay in the maintenance room while I worked. They created the perfect situation to discuss their plans privately, Nathaniel mused, never expecting a child would be their undoing. A notification popped up on his tablet and his expression hardened. They've called an emergency board. Meeting for tomorrow morning. They're going to try to vote me out even without their original plan in place. Can they do that? They can try. Nathaniel stood up, moving to the window. The city sprawled before them, unaware of the corporate warfare unfolding in its midst. But first, we need to understand exactly who we're dealing with. Emma might have heard more than she realizes. As if on cue, Emma began to stir, her eyes fluttering open. She looked around, momentarily confused by the unfamiliar surroundings, then relaxed as she saw her mother and Nathaniel. "Mom?" she asked, her voice still heavy with sleep. "I had a strange dream about the people in the maintenance room. They were talking about a special box that Mr. Carter has in his office. They said it was the key to everything." Nathaniel and Lucy exchanged glances. "What box, sweetheart?" Lucy asked gently. Emma sat up, hugging her teddy bear. "They said it looks like a normal safe, but it's not. They called it Project Sunrise, and they were really angry that they couldn't open it." Nathaniel's expression shifted from confusion to realization. "Project Sunrise isn't a box, Emma. It's the name of the solar power breakthrough. But I do have a biometric safe in my office where I keep the only physical copy of the research. They said bad things would happen if they couldn't get into the box," Emma continued, her voice small. "They said they'd have to use the contingency plan instead." The implications of her words hung heavy in the air. Whatever the conspirators had planned for the board meeting was just one part of a larger scheme. They needed to act fast, but they also needed to be careful. One wrong move could trigger the contingency plan, whatever it might be. Nathaniel looked at Lucy and Emma, these unexpected allies who had become central to his survival. He made a silent promise to protect them, no matter what happened next. Evening had settled over the city, casting an orange glow through the tinted windows of the Haven. While Emma entertained herself with some puzzles Michael had brought along with other supplies, Nathaniel and Lucy sat at the dining table, surrounded by tablets and documents, piecing together the conspiracy. "Look at this," Lucy said, pointing to a maintenance log on one of the tablets. "For the past 3 months, there have been routine inspections of the executive floor every Tuesday night. But I've worked at Horizon Innovations for 5 years, and we never had regular inspections like that before." Nathaniel leaned closer, his shoulder briefly touching Lucy's as he studied the log. The subtle contact sent an unexpected warmth through both of them, but they maintained their professional focus. "Those inspections coincide with my late-night meetings with the research team," he noted, pulling up his calendar. "Every Tuesday I would stay late to review progress on Project Sunrise. They were monitoring my movements. And probably installing surveillance equipment," Lucy added, remembering details that had seemed insignificant at the time. The maintenance crew always insisted on working alone during those inspections. Even the regular security guards weren't allowed on the floor. Emma wandered over, placing her teddy bear on the table. "Mr. Carter, the people I heard, they talked about someone named Olivia. They said she was their inside connection or something like that." Nathaniel's expression darkened. "Olivia Bennett, my chief financial officer." He pulled up her profile on his tablet. "She joined the company 2 years ago, bringing impressive credentials and seemingly perfect recommendations." "But they weren't real?" Lucy guessed, noting his use of seemingly. "Michael's team just finished their background check. The credentials are flawless, too flawless. Every detail holds up to surface inspection, but dig deeper, and the foundations start to crumble." Emma climbed onto a chair between them, her small face serious. "She has scary eyes," she commented, looking at Olivia's corporate photo. "Like my teacher, Mrs. Wilson, when she catches someone cheating." Lucy started to shush her daughter, but Nathaniel held up his hand. "No, let her talk. Emma, what else do you remember about Mrs. Wilson when she catches cheaters? She always knows before she catches them. She watches and waits until she has proof. Emma hugged her teddy bear closer, and she always has a backup plan in case the first one doesn't work. Nathaniel exchanged a meaningful look with Lucy. Out of the mouths of babes, indeed. They'd been focusing on the immediate threat, the board meeting and the false evidence. But what if that was just the first layer? Michael, Nathaniel called to his security chief, who had been working quietly in the corner. I need everything you can find on Olivia's activities outside the company. Focus on any meetings or communications that seemed routine, but didn't quite fit her role. As Michael worked, Lucy noticed Nathaniel's hand trembling slightly as he reached for his coffee cup. She realized he probably hadn't eaten all day. Without a word, she stood and walked to the kitchen, returning minutes later with sandwiches and fresh coffee. You need to keep your strength up, she said simply, placing the food in front of him. The gesture, small but thoughtful, touched Nathaniel deeply. Thank you, he said softly, their eyes meeting for a moment. In that brief exchange, something shifted between them, a recognition of trust, of genuine care beyond their circumstantial alliance. Emma, ever observant, smiled knowingly at her teddy bear. Sir, Michael interrupted the moment, his voice urgent, you need to see this. Olivia has been having regular meetings with representatives from EcoPower Solutions. EcoPower? Nathaniel straightened. They're our biggest competitor in the renewable energy sector. They've been trying to acquire our solar division for years. Michael nodded grimly. The meetings were disguised as charity fundraisers, but we've found evidence of significant money transfers to offshore accounts following each one. The perfect cover, Lucy mused. Who questions a successful executive doing charitable work? Nathaniel was about to respond when his secure phone buzzed with an encrypted message. His face paled as he read it. They've moved up the board. Meeting, he said quietly. It's not tomorrow anymore. They're convening in 3 hours for an emergency session. Olivia's convinced them that my absence today proves their accusations. But that's not enough time to gather proof of their conspiracy, Lucy protested. No, it's not, Nathaniel agreed, which means we need to change our approach. Instead of defending against their accusations, we need to expose their true plan. Emma sat up straighter, her eyes bright with an idea. Mr. Carter, remember how I found the maintenance room? There's something else I didn't tell you about that day. Both adults turned to the little girl, who was practically bouncing with excitement. The scary lady, Olivia? She dropped something when she was leaving. I picked it up, but I didn't know what it was, so I put it in my teddy bear for safekeeping. Slowly, deliberately, Emma reached into a small tear in her teddy bear's seam and pulled out a tiny black device, no bigger than a button. Nathaniel's eyes widened in recognition. It wasn't just any device. It was a specialized encryption key, the kind used for accessing highly secure databases. In the middle of the crisis, a child's habit of collecting treasures might have just given them the breakthrough they needed. The encryption key lay on the table between them, its seemingly innocent appearance belying its crucial importance. Nathaniel's technical team was already working to decode its contents, while Michael coordinated with trusted board members who had been suspicious of Olivia's sudden emergency meeting. Emma, Nathaniel said gently, you've helped me more than you can imagine. First by warning me about the trap, and now with this key. You're quite extraordinary, you know that. The little girl beamed at the praise, but then became serious. Mum says that finding things that don't belong to us isn't good. Was it wrong to keep the key? Lucy stroked her daughter's hair. In this case, mi amor, you did exactly the right thing. Sometimes life isn't as simple as right and wrong. Your mother is very wise, Nathaniel commented, watching their interaction with a warmth he hadn't expected to feel in the midst of this crisis. He'd spent years building his company, focusing solely on success and innovation, never realizing how empty his luxurious penthouse felt each night. A notification pinged on one of the secured tablets. The technical team had begun extracting data from the encryption key. Lines of code and fragments of documents started filling the screen. This is incredible, Michael said, scanning the information. The key doesn't just contain proof of their conspiracy, it has detailed records of every step of their plan. Olivia was documenting everything. Insurance, Lucy suggested, years of observing corporate politics giving her insight. In case her partners tried to betray her, she'd have proof of their involvement. Nathaniel nodded approvingly at her analysis. The question is, can we decrypt enough of it in time to stop the board meeting? Even better, Michael replied, his expression brightening. We don't have to decrypt all of it. Look at this. Olivia was recording all her conversations, including the one Emma overheard. The implications hit them all at once. They had audio proof of the conspiracy, straight from Olivia's own records. Emma tugged at Nathaniel's sleeve. Does this mean the bad people will go away? Yes, sweetheart, he assured her, then looked at Lucy apologetically. But first I need to ask something more of both of you. The board needs to hear your testimony. They need to understand how their CFO's conspiracy was uncovered by a child's innocence and a mother's attention to detail. Lucy straightened in her chair. We'll do it. Not just for you, but because it's right. Emma and I have spent our lives watching from the sidelines. Maybe it's time we stepped forward. Nathaniel reached across the table and squeezed her hand, gently. The gesture was spontaneous, born of gratitude, and something deeper that neither of them was ready to name. Michael, he called, reluctantly releasing Lucy's hand. Prepare the conference room here. We'll connect to the board meeting remotely. I don't want Lucy and Emma anywhere near Horizon Innovations until this is over. As Michael began setting up the secure video link, Nathaniel's phone buzzed with another message. His expression tightened as he read it. Olivia's not working alone within the company, he said grimly. Someone just tried to access Project Sunrise's secure servers using executive credentials. We have another traitor on the board. Lucy moved closer, her presence somehow steadying. How many board members are there? 12, including me, each with decades of business experience and carefully vetted backgrounds. He ran a hand through his hair in frustration. Or so I thought. Sometimes, Lucy said softly, we trust people because of their credentials when we should be looking at their character instead. Nathaniel turned to her, struck by the wisdom in her words. Here he was, surrounded by wealthy, powerful people, plotting his downfall, while his salvation had come from a cleaning lady and her daughter, who had nothing to gain and everything to lose by helping him. Emma, who had been quietly watching them, suddenly spoke up. Mom, Mr. Carter looks at you the same way Prince Charming looks at Cinderella in my storybook. Both adults startled, then shared an embarrassed laugh that broke the tension. Michael cracked a smile as he worked on the conference setup. From the mouths of babes, Nathaniel murmured, his eyes lingering on Lucy's flushed face. But there was no time to explore that observation. The board meeting would begin in less than an hour, and they needed to be ready. Olivia and her conspirators were expecting to find a disgraced CEO scrambling to defend himself against their accusations. Instead, they were about to face the combined strength of a man who had built an empire from nothing, a woman who had spent years learning the true measure of character, and a child whose innocent wisdom had unveiled their entire plot. The countdown to confrontation had begun. The conference room in the Haven hummed with tension as Michael made final adjustments to the secure video link. Nathaniel stood before the large screen, his usual impeccable suit replaced by a casual button-down shirt. A subtle reminder that this meeting wasn't proceeding according to anyone's plans, but his own. Lucy helped Emma smooth down her dress, trying to calm her daughter's nervous energy. Remember, mi amor, you just need to tell them exactly what you heard, just like you told Mr. Carter. But what if they don't believe me? Emma whispered, clutching her teddy bear. The scary lady will be there, won't she? Nathaniel knelt down beside her, his voice gentle but firm. They'll believe you, Emma, because you're telling the truth. And yes, Olivia will be there, but she can't hurt you. You're the brave little girl who outsmarted them all. The screen suddenly flickered to life, showing the Horizon Innovations boardroom. 11 faces appeared, their expressions ranging, from concern to barely concealed hostility. Olivia Bennett sat at the far end, her perfectly composed features betraying no emotion. Nathaniel, Harold Johnson, the board chairman, spoke first. We were beginning to worry about your unexpected absence today. My absence was quite deliberate, Harold, Nathaniel replied calmly. I was warned about a trap set for me in this morning's meeting, a trap that I believe several people in this room helped orchestrate. Murmurs broke out among the board members. Olivia's expression remained unchanged, but her fingers tightened almost imperceptibly around her tablet. These are serious accusations, another board member, Edward Wilson, interjected, especially coming from someone who's been unavailable while serious evidence of financial misconduct has come to light. Ah, yes, the evidence. Nathaniel smiled, but there was steel in his expression. The carefully fabricated trail of breadcrumbs leading to my apparent crimes. Very thorough work, professional even, but there's something you all should hear first. He nodded to Michael, who activated the audio file recovered from Olivia's encryption key. The boardroom fell silent as voices filled the air. Olivia's crisp tones discussing the details of their conspiracy, the methodical planning of Nathaniel's downfall, the promised payoff from eco-power solutions once Project Sunrise was in their hands. As the recording played, Lucy watched the board members' reactions. Most showed genuine shock, but three, including Edward Wilson, maintained two careful poker faces. She made a mental note to share her observations with Nathaniel later. The recording ended, and before anyone could speak, Nathaniel continued. I have a witness who overheard this conversation, and others like it. A witness whose testimony is completely untainted by corporate politics or personal gain. He gestured to Emma, who stepped forward bravely, still holding her teddy bear. Hello, she said clearly into the microphone. I'm Emma Thompson. I heard the scary lady, Miss Bennett, talking about hurting Mr. Carter. They didn't know I was there because I'm good at hiding when I play. Olivia's composure finally cracked. This is absurd. You're basing accusations on the imagination of a child? A child who saved my life, Nathaniel countered. A child who found something you dropped, Olivia. Something you've probably been looking for rather desperately. He held up the encryption key, and Olivia's face went pale. Furthermore, Nathaniel continued, in the past 3 hours, my team has decoded enough of your personal files to prove extensive communication with eco-power solutions. Would you like to explain to the board why our CFO has been receiving large payments from our biggest competitor? Edward Wilson stood abruptly. This meeting is a farce. We came here to discuss Nathaniel's misconduct, not listen to conspiracy. Theories based on a child's story and supposedly decoded files that none of us can verify. Sit down, Edward, Harold Johnson commanded, his voice sharp. Security teams are already searching your office and Olivia's. The FBI has been notified, and they're particularly interested in those offshore accounts you both opened last month. Lucy felt Emma lean against her legs and reached down to squeeze her shoulder reassuringly. The little girl looked up at her with worried eyes. Mom, she whispered, Mr. Wilson looks really angry. Indeed, Edward Wilson's face had turned an alarming shade of red. He reached for his briefcase, his movements jerky with barely controlled rage. This isn't over, Carter, he snarled. You have no idea what you're dealing with. Project Sunrise isn't just about solar power, is it? Tell them what you really discovered. Tell them why eco-power is really interested. Nathaniel's expression remained calm, but Lucy saw his hands tighten behind his back. Would you like to tell them, Edward, about the real reason you were so desperate to access my private safe? About what Project Sunrise could really do in the wrong hands? The tension in the boardroom crackled as 2 decades of corporate rivalry and hidden agendas rose to the surface. What had started as a simple corporate takeover attempt was about to reveal something far more significant and potentially far more dangerous. The silence in the boardroom was deafening as Nathaniel and Edward Wilson stared each other down through the video link. Lucy instinctively pulled Emma closer, sensing they were about to witness something momentous. Project Sunrise, Nathaniel began, his voice steady, was meant to revolutionize solar power storage. But during our research, we discovered something unexpected. Something that could change the entire energy industry overnight. He paused, looking at each board member's face on the screen. Our team found a way to make solar cells self-replicating while maintaining their efficiency. The implications for sustainable energy are enormous and terrifying to those whose fortunes depend on traditional energy sources. Olivia Bennett's carefully maintained composure crumbled further. "You're talking about billions in potential profits, entire industries becoming obsolete overnight." "I'm talking about free energy for everyone," Nathaniel corrected. "That's why I kept the full specifications in my private safe. That's why I didn't rush to patent everything. Some discoveries need to be implemented carefully, with proper safeguards." Edward Wilson laughed bitterly. "Safeguards? You're sitting on technology that could reshape the global economy, and you're worried about safeguards. Do you know what companies like EcoPower Solutions would pay for this?" "I know exactly what they'd pay," Nathaniel replied. "Just as I know they'd bury the technology to protect their existing investments. That's why you're here, isn't it, Edward? EcoPower Solutions promised you a percentage if you helped them acquire Project Sunrise." Harold Johnson leaned forward in his chair. "Nathaniel, are you saying this technology is viable, ready for implementation?" "With proper oversight and gradual introduction, yes. My team has successfully tested small-scale applications, but if rushed to market or misused, it could destabilize entire economies overnight." Emma tugged at Lucy's sleeve. "Mum, is Mr. Carter saying he found a way to make free electricity for everyone?" Lucy nodded, beginning to understand the true scale of what they'd stumbled into. This wasn't just corporate espionage. It was a battle for the future of global energy. "The question," Nathaniel continued, "is how many other board members were approached? How many were offered a piece of the pie to help bury this technology?" He nodded to Michael, who pressed another button. New documents appeared on the screen. Bank records, emails, phone logs. 3 more board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "While you were preparing your trap for me," Nathaniel explained, "my security team was tracking every unusual financial transaction, every suspicious meeting, every encrypted communication. Would anyone like to explain why 5 members of this board have recently opened accounts in the Cayman Islands?" Olivia stood abruptly. "You can't prove any of this. It's all circumstantial. And even if you could, do you really think exposing this conspiracy will help you? The media is already running stories about your supposed crimes. Your reputation—" "My reputation?" Nathaniel interrupted, a small smile playing at his lips. "Michael, please share the other file." A new video appeared on screen, security footage from the Horizon Innovations lobby from that morning. The board watched in silence as Emma's warning played out, followed by footage of security teams moving into position, their movements clearly coordinated and aggressive. "The thing about conspiracies," Nathaniel said quietly, "is that they require every piece to work perfectly. One small variable can bring everything crashing down. In this case, that variable was an observant little girl who happened to be in the right place at the right time." Emma beamed with pride, though she kept a tight hold on her teddy bear. Lucy felt tears welling up in her eyes, pride for her daughter's bravery mixed with awe at the significance of what they'd prevented. "Harold," Nathaniel addressed the chairman directly, "I move for the immediate suspension of Olivia Bennett, Edward Wilson, and any board members involved in this conspiracy, pending a full investigation. I also recommend we convene an emergency session to discuss the proper implementation of Project Sunrise." "Seconded," came a firm voice from the end of the table. Emily Davis, no relation to Lucy, one of the longest-serving board members, spoke up, "And I suggest we invite Mrs. Thompson to that session. Anyone who could spot these discrepancies through simple observation clearly has skills we could use." Lucy startled at the suggestion, but before she could respond, Emma spoke up. "My mom is really smart. She always knows when people are lying, and she helps me with really hard homework, and she—" "Emma," Lucy whispered, embarrassed, but Nathaniel was smiling. "I agree completely," he said, looking at Lucy with undisguised admiration. "We need people who understand the human element, not just the technology and finances. People who can see what others miss." The chairman nodded decisively. "All in favor of the immediate suspension of the named board members pending investigation?" Hands raised across the screen. Olivia Bennett and Edward Wilson sat in stunned silence as security personnel entered the boardroom. "This isn't over," Edward spat, but his bravado was cracking. Eco-Power Solutions won't let this technology go public. They'll find a way to stop you. They can try, Nathaniel replied calmly. But they should know that the full documentation of their conspiracy, including this meeting, has already been sent to multiple secure locations. If anything happens to me or anyone I care about, everything goes public immediately. His hand found Lucy's shoulder as he spoke, the gesture both protective and intimate. Emma looked up at them both, smiling knowingly at her teddy bear. The crisis wasn't over. There would be legal battles ahead, careful negotiations, and the monumental task of introducing Project Sunrise to the world responsibly. But in that moment, watching the security teams escort the conspirators from the boardroom, Lucy felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Hope for a better future, not just for herself and Emma, but for everyone. The hours following the board meeting passed in a blur of activity. While Michael coordinated with federal authorities and security teams, Nathaniel, Lucy, and Emma remained in the Haven, processing the events of the day. The sun had set over the city, painting the sky in deep purples and oranges through the tinted windows. "I still can't believe it's really over," Lucy said softly, watching Emma doze on the comfortable couch. "Everything happened so fast. This morning I was just a cleaning lady, and now you're a hero," Nathaniel completed, joining her by the window. "Both of you are, though I suspect Emma will be disappointed that there won't be any more adventures for a while." Lucy laughed quietly. "You don't know my daughter very well yet. She finds adventures everywhere. Last week she turned our grocery shopping into an epic quest to find the magical cereal of eternal happiness." "Yet," Nathaniel repeated thoughtfully. "I don't know her very well yet." He turned to face Lucy, his expression serious but gentle. "I'd like to change that if you'll let me." Lucy felt her heart skip a beat, but forced herself to think practically. "Nathaniel, you're a billionaire CEO who just uncovered a global conspiracy. I'm a single mother who cleans offices for a living. The tabloids would have a field day." "Let them," he replied simply. "Lucy, today I watched you piece together a complex conspiracy through simple observation. You showed more wisdom and insight than my entire board of directors. And your daughter," he glanced at Emma's sleeping form. "She saw what highly paid security teams missed, all because she looks at the world with pure eyes and an open heart. I suspect she got that from you?" Lucy felt tears threatening to form, but blinked them away. "It's not that simple. Our worlds are so different." "Are they?" Nathaniel moved closer, his voice low and sincere. "I grew up in a small apartment above my father's failing hardware store. Everything I have, I built from nothing. But somewhere along the way, I forgot what really matters. Today, watching you with Emma, seeing how you face challenges with grace and strength, it reminded me of who I used to be, who I want to be again." Before Lucy could respond, Michael entered the room quietly. "Sir, we have updates from the Federal Investigation Team. They've seized Olivia's personal devices and found correspondence with energy industry executives going back months. They're building a solid case." "Good," Nathaniel nodded. "And the media situation?" "Our PR team is preparing a statement about Project Sunrise. They suggest getting ahead of the story by announcing your plans for responsible implementation. The technology blogs are already speculating about revolutionary changes in the energy sector." Lucy listened to them discuss strategy, amazed at how quickly events were moving. Just that morning, her biggest concern had been making sure Emma had a safe place to stay while she cleaned offices. Now she was part of something that could change the world. "What happens now?" she asked. "With Project Sunrise, I mean. Won't other companies try to stop you from releasing it?" Nathaniel's expression brightened. "Actually, I'd like your opinion on that. You understand people, Lucy. How would you introduce something this revolutionary without causing panic?" Lucy thought for a moment, absently adjusting Emma's blanket as she considered the question. "You start small. Show people how it works in their daily lives. Maybe begin with community projects, schools, hospitals, neighborhoods that struggle with energy costs. Let them see the benefits firsthand." "Exactly what I was thinking," Nathaniel smiled. "We'll need someone to oversee those community projects. Someone who understands both the human impact and the importance of careful implementation. Lucy's eyes widened as she realized what he was suggesting. "Nathaniel, I don't have the qualifications." "You have exactly the qualifications we need," he interrupted gently. "You understand people. You see details others miss. And most importantly, you care about doing things right, not just doing them quickly." Emma stirred on the couch, blinking sleepily. "Mom, are we going home soon?" Nathaniel and Lucy exchanged glances. With the conspirators in custody, it was technically safe to leave the haven, but neither of them was quite ready for this day to end. "Actually," Nathaniel said, kneeling beside the couch, "I was wondering if you and your mom would like to have dinner with me. I know a place that makes amazing pizza, and they deliver right here." Emma sat up, suddenly wide awake. "Can we get the one with pineapple? Mom never lets me get pineapple on pizza." "Emma!" Lucy exclaimed, but she was laughing. "Pineapple pizza it is," Nathaniel declared solemnly, though his eyes twinkled. "Sometimes the best traditions start with breaking the old rules, right?" As he placed the order, Lucy watched him with Emma, saw how naturally they interacted, how her daughter's usual shyness had been replaced with comfortable familiarity. In just one day, their lives had changed in ways she never could have imagined. Michael discreetly excused himself, hiding a smile as he went to coordinate with the security team. Through the window, the city lights began to twinkle, and Lucy realized that for the first time in years, she wasn't worried about tomorrow. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The next few days passed in a whirlwind of activity. While federal investigators built their case against Olivia Bennett and her co-conspirators, Nathaniel worked with his team to prepare for Project Sunrise's carefully planned unveiling. Through it all, Lucy and Emma remained at the Haven, which had become something of a temporary home. "These projections look promising," Nathaniel said one evening, reviewing documents at the dining table. "The first community pilot program could be operational within months." Lucy looked up from helping Emma with her homework. "Have you chosen the location yet?" "Actually, I was hoping you'd help with that decision." He pushed aside his tablet and joined them at the other end of the table. "You mentioned your old neighborhood has been struggling with rising energy costs." Emma's eyes lit up. "Are you going to give our building magic solar powers? Jenny from apartment 4B says her mom is always worried about the electric bill, and in summer it gets really hot because they can't use the air conditioning much." Nathaniel smiled at her enthusiasm. "That's exactly the kind of situation we want to help with. Lucy, would you be willing to act as community liaison for the pilot program? The residents already know and trust you." Lucy felt a warmth spread through her chest. Over the past few days, she'd watched Nathaniel work tirelessly to protect both his company and his revolutionary technology, but he never forgot about the human impact of his decisions. He genuinely wanted to help people, not just make profits. "I'd be honored," she replied, "but what about my current position? I can't just abandon my responsibilities at Horizon Innovations." Nathaniel's eyes twinkled. "Well, as it happens, we have an immediate opening for Director of Community Relations and Implementation. The board has already approved the position, and our primary candidate comes highly recommended by a very observant 8-year-old consultant." Emma giggled. "That's Mom. She's going to be amazing at it because she always knows how to help people." "Indeed she does," Nathaniel agreed, his gaze lingering on Lucy's face. Over the past few days, their connection had grown stronger, built on shared experiences and quiet moments between crises. He'd joined them for breakfast each morning, brought Emma educational games to play with, and spent hours listening to Lucy's insights about everything from employee relations to community needs. "Nathaniel," Lucy started, but he held up his hand. "Before you say it's too much, too fast, hear me out. You've already proven you can see things others miss. You understand both the practical and emotional needs of the communities we want to help. And most importantly, you're not afraid to tell me when I'm wrong." "He's right, Mum," Emma chimed in, abandoning any pretense of doing her homework. "You always say we should help people when we can. And now you can help lots of people." Lucy looked at her daughter's excited face and Nathaniel's hopeful expression. Her whole life she'd worked hard to give Emma a better future, to show her that integrity and kindness mattered more than status or wealth. Now she had a chance to prove that on a larger scale. "Okay," she said finally, "but I want to start with a trial period. 3 months to make sure it's a good fit." "Perfect," Nathaniel beamed. "Though I should warn you, the position does come with one rather persistent admirer who may ask you to dinner occasionally." Emma bounced in her chair. "Is it you, Mr. Carter? Are you going to take Mom on a real date? Can I help pick her dress?" "Emma!" Lucy exclaimed, blushing furiously. "Actually," Nathaniel said, reaching for Lucy's hand across the table, "I was hoping both of you would join me for dinner tonight. There's this wonderful Italian restaurant by the park." "With the carousel?" Emma asked excitedly. "Mom, can we go, please?" Lucy looked at their joined hands, then at Emma's hopeful face and finally at Nathaniel's warm eyes. In just a few days, he'd become such a natural part of their lives, fitting into their small family as if he'd always belonged there. "We'd love to," she said softly. As they prepared to leave the haven for the first time in days, Lucy watched. Nathaniel helped Emma with her coat, making her laugh with a silly joke. He caught her watching and smiled, not the confident smile of a billionaire CEO, but the gentle expression of a man who'd found something more valuable than any technology. Outside, the city was coming alive with evening activity. As they walked to the restaurant, Emma between them holding both their hands, Lucy realized something. Their story hadn't started with a conspiracy or a corporate takeover attempt. It had started with trust, a little girl's instinct to help someone in danger, and a man's willingness to believe her. The rest, as they say, was just the beginning of their adventure together. Monday morning arrived with a sense of surreal normalcy. Lucy stood in front of the mirror in her apartment, adjusting her new business suit, a gift from Nathaniel that she'd initially tried to refuse until he pointed out that her new position required a different wardrobe. The fabric felt foreign against her skin, a tangible reminder of how much her life had changed in less than a week. "Mom, have you seen my science homework?" Emma called from her room. "I want to show Mr. Carter my solar system project." Lucy smiled, remembering their family dinner at the Italian restaurant 3 nights ago. Nathaniel had listened intently as Emma explained her school project, offering suggestions and encouraging her interest in science. He'd even promised to help her build a working model of solar panels for her next science fair. "Check your blue." "Folder, mi amor," Lucy called back, giving herself one final look in the mirror. The woman staring back at her looked confident, professional, ready to take on her new role as Director of Community Relations and Implementation at Horizon Innovations. A knock at the door announced Nathaniel's arrival. He'd insisted on picking them up for Lucy's first day, wanting to ensure her transition was as smooth as possible. When Lucy opened the door, she found him holding a small gift bag and wearing a warm smile. "Good morning," he said softly, his eyes taking in her appearance with obvious appreciation. "You look perfect." Before Lucy could respond, Emma burst out of her room, backpack in one hand and science project in the other. "Mr. Carter, look what I made. It's the solar system, and I added extra notes about solar energy because of Project Sunrise." Nathaniel knelt down to examine the project, treating it with the same seriousness he would give to any board presentation. "This is excellent work, Emma. I especially like how you've connected the sun's energy to practical applications on Earth. Very innovative thinking." Emma beamed with pride, then noticed the gift bag in his hand. "Is that a present? Is it for Mom?" "Actually," Nathaniel said, standing and holding out the bag to Lucy, "it's something for both of you. I thought it might be useful for today." Lucy opened the bag and found 2 small pendant necklaces, elegant but not flashy. "They're beautiful, but they're also security devices," Nathaniel explained. "After everything that happened, I want to make sure you're both protected. The pendants have GPS tracking and emergency alert buttons. I have matching cufflinks." Lucy touched the necklaces gently, understanding the message behind the gift. Nathaniel wasn't just trying to protect them, he was making them part of his world in a way that respected their independence. "Thank you," she said softly, helping. Emma put on her necklace, while Nathaniel assisted with the clasp of her own. His fingers brushed the back of her neck, sending a small shiver down her spine. The drive to Horizon Innovations was filled with Emma's excited chatter about her upcoming science fair and her ideas for making solar energy kid-friendly. Nathaniel and Lucy exchanged amused glances as she proposed solar-powered playground equipment and glow-in-the-dark sidewalks. After dropping Emma off at school, they arrived at the corporate headquarters. The building looked different now, not just a workplace, but a symbol of the change they were trying to bring to the world. "Ready?" Nathaniel asked as they approached the executive elevator. Lucy took a deep breath. "I think so, though it feels strange entering through the front door instead of the service entrance." "You always belonged in the front door, Lucy," he said quietly. "Sometimes it just takes a while for the world to catch up to where people should be." The elevator ride was quick, but Lucy's mind raced with memories of the past week. The conspiracy, the revelations, the quiet moments at the Haven that had changed their lives forever. When the doors opened on the executive floor, she was surprised to find Emily Davis, the board member who had supported her appointment, waiting for them. "Good morning," Emily greeted warmly. "I hope you don't mind, but I took the liberty of gathering some of the community outreach team for an informal meeting. They're very excited to meet their new director." Lucy squared her shoulders, ready to face this new challenge. She caught Nathaniel watching her with pride and felt a surge of confidence. This was where she belonged, not just as someone's employee, but as a leader in her own right. The morning passed in a whirlwind of introductions, meetings, and project briefings. Lucy's natural ability to connect with people and see the bigger picture impressed everyone she met. By lunchtime, she had already identified several ways to improve their community engagement strategies and had started planning the pilot program for her old neighborhood. "You're a natural at this," Nathaniel commented as they shared a quiet lunch in his office. "The team already respects you." "It's strange," Lucy admitted. "A week ago I was cleaning these offices. Now I'm helping decide their future." "You were always capable of this, Lucy. You just needed the opportunity." He reached across the desk and took her hand. "And I needed someone to remind me why I started this company in the first place, to make a real difference in people's lives." A knock at the door interrupted their moment. Michael entered with an urgent expression. "Sir, we've just received word. EcoPower Solutions is calling a press conference. They're going to announce their own breakthrough in sustainable energy technology." Nathaniel's expression tightened. "They're trying to get ahead of our announcement of Project Sunrise." "What can they possibly have?" Lucy wondered. "You said your technology was revolutionary." "It is," Nathaniel confirmed, "which means either they're bluffing or they have another spy in the company," Lucy finished, her mind already working through the possibilities. Once again, they found themselves facing a challenge that could affect not just their lives, but the future of clean energy itself. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across Nathaniel's office as his team assembled for an emergency meeting. Lucy sat beside him, her tablet filled with notes from her first day, now temporarily forgotten as they faced this new challenge. "The press conference is scheduled for tomorrow morning," Michael reported, displaying the announcement on the large screen. "EcoPower Solutions is claiming a revolutionary breakthrough in sustainable energy storage." Emily Davis, who had joined them immediately upon hearing the news, studied the press release. "The language they're using, it's very similar to our Project Sunrise documentation. Too similar to be coincidental." Lucy had been quietly observing, her mind working through the patterns she'd noticed throughout the day. "Nathaniel, who else besides the board has access to the Project Sunrise files?" "The core research team, about 15 people," he replied, "all thoroughly vetted and loyal to the company." "What about support staff, IT, maintenance?" Lucy pressed, thinking about her years of observing corporate dynamics from the sidelines. Nathaniel's eyes widened slightly as he followed her train of thought. "The research is compartmentalized, but the networking team had to set up special secure servers for the project. They would have had access to the infrastructure, if not the content itself." Michael was already pulling up personnel files. "The networking team was replaced 3 months ago as part of a standard IT upgrade. The new team was provided by an outside contractor." "Let me guess," Lucy said. "A contractor recommended by Olivia Bennett?" "Exactly." Michael displayed more documents. The contractor company appears legitimate, but with some digging, it's a subsidiary of a holding company owned by Eco Power Solutions. Nathaniel stood, pacing by the window. They couldn't get to Project Sunrise directly, so they went after our infrastructure. They might not have the full technology, but they could have enough to create problems. We need to move up our timeline, Emily suggested. Announce Project Sunrise before their press conference. That could backfire, Lucy cautioned. Right, now they're reacting to us, which means we have the advantage. We know what we have. They only have pieces of information. If we rush our announcement, we might play into their hands. Nathaniel stopped pacing and turned to her, a smile forming. You have an idea. Actually, I have several, Lucy replied, pulling up the community implementation plans she'd been working on. What if, instead of a big corporate announcement, we show them and the world what Project Sunrise can actually do? She stood and moved to the screen, displaying her proposal for the pilot program. My old neighborhood isn't the only community struggling with energy costs. What if we launched multiple pilot programs simultaneously? Show real results in real communities before they can make empty promises. A grassroots approach, Emily nodded approvingly. It would be harder for them to counter actual working implementations with theoretical technology. Nathaniel was already reaching for his phone. We can have the legal team draft agreements with community leaders tonight. Michael, how quickly can we set up the initial installations? With the prototypes we've already tested. 48 hours for the first wave. Lucy's tablet chimed with a message from Emma's school. Speaking of community support, she said, reading the message, Emma's science teacher is very excited about her solar energy project. Apparently half the class is now interested in sustainable technology. Nathaniel paused his planning, a new idea forming. Emily, what if we added schools to the pilot program? Not just providing the technology, but educational programs about sustainable energy? The children are our future, Emily mused, literally in this case, teaching them about clean energy while demonstrating its benefits to their families. It's perfect, Lucy agreed. Eco Power Solutions is thinking like a corporation, focusing on stock prices and market share. We can show that Project Sunrise is about people, not just profits. The room buzzed with renewed energy as they refined the plan. By the time they needed to leave to pick up Emma from school, they had a solid strategy in place. The pilot programs would launch in 10 communities across the city, including schools, community centers, and residential buildings. You've done amazing work today, Nathaniel told Lucy as they rode the elevator down. Both with the community, outreach plans, and handling this crisis. It helps to have a different perspective, she replied. Sometimes the best solutions come from understanding people's real needs, not just corporate strategies. The elevator doors opened, and they headed to the parking garage. As they walked, Nathaniel took her hand, intertwining their fingers naturally. Have dinner with me tonight, both of you? Again? Lucy teased. That would be 3 times in 1 week. I was thinking we could cook at my place this time, he suggested. Emma mentioned she likes making pizza, and I have a kitchen I barely use. Lucy thought about Emma's delight at the idea of making dinner with Nathaniel, of the domestic comfort that had grown between them so naturally. We'd like that. As they drove to Emma's school, Lucy reflected on the changes in her life. A week ago, she'd been cleaning offices and worrying about bills. Now she was helping launch a technology that could change the world, falling in love with a remarkable man, and watching her daughter blossom in ways she'd never imagined possible. Emma was waiting at the school entrance, her solar system project, clutched proudly in her hands. When she saw them both coming to pick her up, her face lit up with pure joy. Mom, Mr. Carter, guess what? My teacher says I can present my project to the whole school next week. Can I talk about Project Sunrise? 2, please. Nathaniel and Lucy exchanged glances, both thinking about their plans for the school pilot programs. Sometimes the best ideas really did come from the most unexpected sources. Nathaniel's penthouse kitchen was soon filled with laughter as Emma enthusiastically spread tomato sauce on her pizza dough. The countertops were dusted with flour, and the air was rich with the smell of fresh herbs and melting cheese. How you have to spread it in circles, Emma explained seriously. demonstrating her technique. Mom says it's like painting, but you have to be careful not to make holes in the dough. Nathaniel watched in fascination as Lucy guided Emma's hands, showing her how to reach the edges without tearing the carefully stretched dough. There was something magical about seeing his usually pristine kitchen transformed into this warm, messy space of family activity. "I think we're ready for toppings," Lucy announced, wiping a smudge of flour from Emma's cheek. "Remember our deal about the pineapple?" "Only on half," Emma recited, then turned to Nathaniel with a conspiratorial whisper. "Mom doesn't like pineapple on pizza, but she's letting me try it because you said it's important to try new things." "Speaking of trying new things," Nathaniel said, pulling out his tablet, "I wanted to show you both something before dinner." He pulled up the implementation plans they'd finalized that afternoon. "Emma, remember how you talked about solar-powered playground equipment?" Emma's eyes widened as she saw the designs on the screen. "Those are my ideas, the glowing sidewalks and the spinning thing that makes electricity." "Our engineering team loved your suggestions," Nathaniel explained. "They've designed safe, kid-friendly ways to demonstrate solar power in schools. And guess which school is getting the first installation?" Mine?" Emma practically bounced with excitement. "Really, when can I tell my friends?" Lucy watched them interact, her heart swelling with emotion. Nathaniel had taken Emma's creative ideas seriously, turning them into real projects that would help children understand and get excited about sustainable energy. "The installations begin next week," he continued, showing more details. "While Eco Power Solutions is giving their press conference about theoretical technology, we'll be launching real projects in communities across the city." "And the educational program?" Lucy asked, arranging pepperoni on her section of the pizza. "Emily's team has already developed the curriculum. We're calling it Sunrise Scholars, a program to teach kids about renewable energy through hands-on projects and real-world applications." Emma carefully placed pineapple chunks on her half of the pizza. "Can I help teach the other kids? I already know lots about Project Sunrise." "Actually," Lucy said, exchanging a glance with Nathaniel, "we were thinking you could be our first student ambassador. You'd help introduce the program to other schools and share your experiences." The pizza was momentarily forgotten as Emma processed this news. "Like a real job? Would I get a badge and everything?" "A badge, a special tablet for presentations, and an official role in the Sunrise Scholars program," Nathaniel confirmed. "But only if your mom agrees, and only if you keep your grades up." Emma turned to Lucy with pleading eyes. "Please, Mom, I promise I'll do all my homework and keep my room clean and everything." Lucy pretended to consider it carefully, though she'd already discussed the details with Nathaniel earlier. "Well, since you're already doing such a great job with your science project..." Emma's squeal of delight echoed through the kitchen as she hugged first her mother, then Nathaniel. "This is the best pizza night ever." As they put the finished pizza in the oven, Nathaniel's phone buzzed with an update from Michael. The message made him smile. "Good news?" Lucy asked, helping Emma clean up the cooking mess. "Very good news. Our team discovered that Eco Power Solutions doesn't actually have any working prototype. They were planning to use stolen fragments of our research to bluff their way through the press conference, hoping to buy time to either replicate our technology or force us into a partnership. But now we're going to show everyone real working solar stuff instead of just talking about it," Emma observed wisely, making both adults laugh at her perfect summary of their strategy. The oven timer chimed, and Nathaniel moved to retrieve their creation. The pizza looked slightly lopsided, with Emma's pineapple half clearly distinguishable from the traditional toppings on the other side. But to him, it was perfect, a symbol of their blending lives, different but complementary. As they sat down to eat, Emma insisted on saying grace, something she'd learned from her grandmother. "Thank you for this food, and for Mr. Carter, and for solar power, and for Mom's new job, and for pineapple pizza, even though Mom thinks it's weird." Lucy caught Nathaniel's eye across the table, seeing her own joy reflected there. In just over a week, they'd gone from strangers to something that felt remarkably like family. After dinner, as Emma worked on her homework at the kitchen counter, Nathaniel and Lucy stood by his floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the city lights twinkle below. "I never thought I'd have this," he admitted quietly. "The company, the success. Yes, but this—" He gestured to include Emma humming as she wrote and the remains of their family dinner. "This feels like something much more valuable." Lucy leaned against him slightly, allowing herself to relax into the moment. Life has a way of giving us what we need, even when it comes in unexpected packages. Like a little girl with a teddy bear warning a stranger about danger. Exactly like that. Emma's voice interrupted their moment. "Mum, Mr. Carter, can you help me with my essay? We're supposed to write about what we want to be when we grow up, and I can't decide between being a solar power scientist or a pizza chef who makes electricity." "Why not both?" Nathaniel suggested, joining her at the counter with Lucy. "The best innovations often come from combining different things we love." As they helped Emma brainstorm ideas for her essay, none of them noticed the time passing. This evening together, making pizza and sharing dreams, had created something precious, a foundation for their future, as bright and promising as the sunrise they were working to share with the world. The morning of Eco Power Solutions Press conference dawned bright and clear. But while their executives prepared to announce their supposed breakthrough, Horizon Innovations was already in motion across the city. Lucy stood in the gymnasium of Emma's school, watching as technicians installed the first set of interactive solar demonstrations. The centerpiece was a specially designed playground set that converted kinetic energy from children's play into power for the school's lighting system. "The kids are going to lose their minds when they see this," Emma's science teacher, Ms. Thompson, said excitedly. "Especially when they learn they can power their own classrooms by playing." "That was actually Emma's idea," Lucy explained proudly. "She thought kids would understand solar energy better if they could see it working in their daily lives." Across the gymnasium, Emma was giving an impromptu tour to some early arriving students, proudly wearing her Sunrise Scholars badge. "And this part spins when you push it, and it makes electricity, and then the lights change colors to show how much power you made." Nathaniel arrived just as the final installations were being tested. He'd switched his usual formal suit for business casual attire, wanting to be approachable for the community event. "How are the other sites progressing?" Lucy asked as he joined them. "Right on schedule. The apartment complexes are already showing significant power generation, and the community center's systems will be online within the hour." He checked his tablet. "EcoPower's press conference starts in 30 minutes. "Mr. Carter," Emma called, running over with a group of excited children. "Can we show them how the solar panels work, please?" "Of course," he smiled, following the enthusiastic tour group. Lucy watched as he patiently explained the technology in terms the children could understand, using analogies and interactive demonstrations to make complex concepts accessible. The school's principal approached Lucy, beaming. "This is extraordinary. Do you know how much we'll save on energy costs? We can finally afford to upgrade our computer lab and start that after-school science program we've been dreaming about." Similar scenes were playing out across the city. At Lucy's old apartment building, residents gathered in amazement as their electric meters began running backward, generating credits instead of costs. The community center, in one of the city's poorest neighborhoods, powered up its new air conditioning system for the first time in years, providing relief from the summer heat. Emily Davis coordinated with news teams, ensuring that each successful installation received media coverage. By the time EcoPower Solutions CEO stepped up to their podium to make their announcement, social media was already buzzing with real-world examples of Horizon Innovations technology in action. "Mom," Emma called out suddenly, "look at the TV." The gymnasium's screen, intended for assemblies and presentations, was showing the EcoPower Solutions press conference. Their CEO's confident expression faltered as reporters began asking questions about Horizon's community implementations. "Is it true that Horizon Innovations has already installed working solar systems in multiple locations? Can you comment on reports of zero-cost energy generation in low-income communities? What's your response to the Sunrise Scholars program teaching children about sustainable energy?" The CEO's prepared speech about theoretical breakthroughs crumbled in the face of actual results. When asked specifically about their supposed new technology, his vague responses made it clear they had nothing concrete to offer. Nathaniel's phone buzzed with a message from Michael. Eco power stock dropping. Their major investors are calling for emergency meetings. I almost feel sorry for them, Lucy mused, watching the CEO struggle to maintain composure on screen. They brought this on themselves, Nathaniel replied, but without malice. They were so focused on corporate espionage and market manipulation that they forgot the real purpose of innovation, helping people. The gymnasium doors opened as more students began arriving for the official unveiling. Emma rushed to greet her classmates, proudly showing off her ambassador badge and leading them to the various demonstrations. "She's a natural leader," Nathaniel observed, watching Emma organize the growing crowd of excited children into groups. "She gets that from her father," Lucy said quietly. It was the first time she'd mentioned Emma's father to Nathaniel. He was a community organizer, always fighting for people's rights. He would have loved what we're doing here. Nathaniel took her hand gently. "Tell me about him." He was killed in a protest 7 years ago, standing up for worker safety regulations. Emma was too young to remember him, but I see him in her sometimes, especially her desire to help others. Before Nathaniel could respond, Emma's voice rang out across the gymnasium. "Mom, Mr. Carter, can we start the official tour now? Everyone's here." They turned to see the gymnasium filled with students, parents, teachers, and community members, all eager to learn about the technology that was already changing their lives. "Shall we?" Nathaniel offered his arm to Lucy with a smile. As they joined Emma at the front of the crowd, Lucy felt a profound sense of rightness. They weren't just implementing new technology or outmaneuvering corporate competitors. They were building a better future, one community at a time. Emma began her presentation, her voice clear and confident. "Welcome to the future of clean energy. Today, we're going to show you how the power of the sun can make our school, our neighborhood, and our whole world better." The enthusiasm in her voice, the pride in her mother's eyes, and the love in Nathaniel's heart created their own kind of energy, one that no technology could measure, but that would power their shared future for years to come. 2 weeks after the community launch of Project Sunrise, the impact was spreading far beyond their initial expectations. Lucy's office at Horizon Innovations had become a hub of activity, with requests pouring in from communities across the country wanting to participate in the pilot program. "We've received inquiries from 37 states and 12 countries," she reported during the morning executive meeting. "The success of our initial implementations has created a domino effect." Emily Davis nodded approvingly. "The educational program is particularly successful. Emma's presentation video has gone viral, over 2 million views. Children everywhere are asking their schools to join the Sunrise Scholars Program." Nathaniel couldn't help but smile at the mention of Emma. The little girl who had saved his life was now becoming the face of clean energy education, inspiring children around the world with her enthusiasm and simple, clear explanations of complex technology. "Speaking of Emma," he said as the meeting concluded, "how is she handling her newfound fame?" Lucy gathered her materials, pride evident in her expression. "She's taking it all in stride. Yesterday she told me she doesn't want to be famous. She just wants to help other kids understand how they can make the world better." They walked together to Lucy's office, their shoulders occasionally brushing in a way that sent warm tingles through both of them. The past 2 weeks had seen them falling into a comfortable routine, family dinners, weekend outings, and quiet moments that felt increasingly like home. "I've been thinking," Nathaniel said as they entered her office, which had a beautiful view of the city. "The apartment building implementation has been so successful. Maybe it's time to consider expanding it to the entire neighborhood." Lucy turned to him, understanding dawning in her eyes. "You want to make my old neighborhood the first fully sustainable community in the city? Not just sustainable, self-sufficient. Solar roads, community power storage, educational centers, a model for future implementations worldwide." He moved closer, taking her hands in his. "And I was thinking, maybe we could be part of that community together." Lucy's heart skipped a beat. "Nathaniel, I know it soon, he continued quickly. But these past weeks, Lucy, I've never felt more alive, more purposeful. Watching you and Emma being part of your lives, it's shown me what really matters. Before she could respond, Emma burst into the office, her Sunrise Scholars badge gleaming. Mom, Mr. Carter, you have to see this. She was carrying her tablet, which showed a live news feed. Eco Power Solutions was announcing their immediate restructuring, including the resignation of their CEO and a complete shift in corporate strategy. They want to partner with us, Emma explained excitedly. They're saying they were wrong to try to steal Project Sunrise, and now they want to help make it available everywhere. Nathaniel and Lucy exchanged glances. This was unexpected, but not unwelcome. Converting a competitor into an ally could accelerate their plans for global implementation. What do you think? Nathaniel asked Lucy. Should we give them a chance to make amends? Lucy considered for a moment, her natural insight into people coming into play. Everyone deserves a second chance if they're truly willing to change. Maybe this is an opportunity to show that cooperation is better than competition. Emma nodded sagely. Like when Jenny and I had a fight about who would be class president, but then we decided to work together and made the whole class better. Nathaniel laughed softly, out of the mouths of babes. Emma, what would you think about us working with EcoPower to help more communities? That would be awesome. Then she paused, looking thoughtful. But first, can we have pizza night? I want... Santa, try a new topping combination. Lucy and Nathaniel shared another look, this one filled with warmth and amusement. Actually, Lucy said, I think Mr. Carter was about to suggest something even more interesting than pizza night. Emma's eyes widened with curiosity. More interesting than pizza? What could be more interesting than pizza? Nathaniel knelt down to Emma's level, suddenly feeling nervous about this conversation with an 8-year-old. Well, I was thinking, how would you feel if we turned your ideas for a sustainable community into reality? Not just for your school, but for your whole neighborhood. Emma bounced excitedly. With the glowing sidewalks and the power-making playgrounds. All of that and more, he confirmed. And maybe I could help make those improvements from a little closer to home. For a moment, Emma looked confused. Then her eyes lit up with understanding. You mean you want to live near us, like be a real family? The hope in her voice made Nathaniel's heart swell. He glanced up at Lucy, seeing tears shimmering in her eyes, and knew he was making the right decision. Only if you and your mom want that, he said softly. Emma launched herself into his arms, nearly knocking him over. Yes, Mom, can we? Please, we can have pizza night every night. Lucy laughed through her tears. Maybe not every night, mi amor. She moved closer, joining their embrace. But I think we could work something out. As they held each other in the sunlit office, plans for sustainable communities and global partnerships momentarily took a back seat to something more immediate and precious. The formation of a family, brought together by a child's warning, united by a vision for a better world, and strengthened by love that had grown as naturally as the sunrise. 1 month after the initial launch of Project Sunrise, Lucy stood in front of her old apartment building, now transformed into a beacon of sustainable living. Solar panels gleamed on the roof, energy-efficient windows reflected the morning sun, and the newly installed community garden buzzed with activity. It's amazing, she whispered, feeling Nathaniel's arms slip around her waist. I never imagined this place could look like this. Just wait until you see inside, Emma said, practically bouncing with excitement. She was wearing a special edition Sunrise Scholars jacket, created after the program had gone national. Can I show them the surprise now? Nathaniel nodded, and Emma led them through the building's entrance, now powered by transparent solar glass. The lobby, once dim and dated, had been transformed into a bright, welcoming space with living walls and interactive displays showing the building's real-time energy production and usage. But the real surprise waited on the top floor. As they stepped out of the elevator, Emma ran ahead, throwing open the door to what had once been abandoned storage space. "Welcome home," she announced proudly. Lucy gasped. The entire top floor had been converted into a beautiful living space, combining modern sustainability with comfortable warmth. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of the city, while advanced solar technology seamlessly integrated into every aspect of the design. "Nathaniel," she breathed, "this is... How did you—" "I had help," he smiled, watching Emma dart from room to room, showing off features she'd helped design. "Your daughter is quite the architect when it comes to combining practical technology with comfortable living." The main living area opened onto a rooftop garden, where solar panels doubled as shade structures over comfortable seating areas. A small greenhouse occupied one corner, filled with the herbs Emma had insisted were essential for proper pizza making. "Look, Mum," Emma called from what was clearly designed to be her bedroom. "My ceiling has stars that light up using solar power we collected during the day." Lucy turned to Nathaniel, tears shimmering in her eyes. "You did all this for us?" "I did this for us," he corrected gently. "If you'll have me. This whole building is a prototype for our next phase of community development. What better place to live than right here, where it all started?" Emma returned to them, her face serious. "Does this mean you're going to be my dad now? For real?" Nathaniel knelt down to her level, his heart full. "Emma, you and your mom have changed my life in ways I never imagined possible. Nothing would make me happier than being your dad, if that's what you want." Instead of answering, Emma pulled something from her jacket pocket, her worn teddy bear, the same one that had been with her the day she saved Nathaniel's life. "I put something inside him," she said, carefully opening the seam where she'd once hidden Olivia's encryption key. "Mom helped me pick it out." From inside the bear, she withdrew a simple gold ring. Nathaniel looked up at Lucy in surprise. "Emma thought you were taking too long to ask," Lucy explained, laughing through her tears. "So we decided to help move things along." Nathaniel stood slowly, taking the ring from Emma's outstretched hand. "You know, usually it's supposed to be the other way around." "Since when has anything about us been usual?" Lucy challenged, her eyes sparkling. He slipped the ring onto her finger, then pulled both her and Emma into a tight embrace. "Never. And I wouldn't have it any other way." From the rooftop garden, they could see other buildings in the neighborhood already being fitted with Project Sunrise technology. The partnership with EcoPower Solutions had accelerated their implementation timeline, and communities around the world were beginning to transform. "You know what this means?" Emma asked, still sandwiched between them. "We need to have a bigger pizza oven for when everyone comes to visit, and maybe a solar-powered ice cream maker." "I think we can arrange that," Nathaniel laughed, "although your mom might have some opinions about too many desserts." "Speaking of opinions," Lucy said, "the Community Council wants to know if we're still planning to convert the old recreation center into a Sunrise Scholars headquarters." "Already in progress," Nathaniel confirmed. "Emily's team is developing an expanded curriculum, and we've had thousands of applications from students wanting to join the program." Emma beamed with pride. "Jenny says I'm going to be famous like Bill Nye the Science Guy, but with better hair." They laughed together, the sound echoing across their rooftop sanctuary. Below them, the city stretched out like a canvas waiting to be transformed. Project Sunrise was no longer just a technological breakthrough. It had become a movement, sparked by a child's courage and nurtured by the love of a family that fate had brought together. "So," Emma said, looking between her soon-to-be official parents, "about that pizza oven." Lucy and Nathaniel exchanged amused glances. Their journey had begun with a warning about danger and had transformed into something beautiful. A family, a mission, and a future bright with promise. And yes, probably quite a few experimental pizza toppings along the way. Wedding planning, Lucy discovered, was considerably more complicated when you were also overseeing the global rollout of revolutionary sustainable energy technology. She sat in her office, surrounded by both fabric swatches and implementation reports, while Emma enthusiastically shared her latest ideas. "And then," Emma continued, barely pausing for breath, "we can have solar-powered fairy lights all around the garden, and everyone can wear flowers made from recycled materials, and maybe we can make the cake using ingredients from our rooftop greenhouse." Lucy smiled at her daughter's excitement. "I think we might need to leave the cake to professionals, mi amor, but I love the idea about the lights." Nathaniel appeared in the doorway, his face lighting up at the sight of his future wife and daughter. "How's the planning going?" Emma wants to power the entire wedding with sustainable energy, Lucy reported, standing to greet him with a kiss. And apparently we need a pizza station at the reception. Obviously, Emma nodded seriously. It's like our family tradition now. Nathaniel joined them at Lucy's desk, picking up one of the implementation reports. Speaking of traditions, the first International Sunrise Scholars Convention is confirmed for next month. They want all three of us to give the opening speech. Emma's eyes widened. All of us? Together? Well, you are our top ambassador, Nathaniel reminded her. And your mother's community implementation model has become the global standard. It makes sense for us to present as a family. Family. The word still sent warm ripples through Lucy's heart. She looked around her office, remembering how just months ago she had been cleaning spaces like this. Now her walls were covered with awards, implementation plans, and children's artwork sent from Sunrise Scholars programs around the world. "Did you see the latest numbers from the Asian rollout?" she asked, pulling up the data on her tablet. "The rural electrification program is ahead of schedule, and the educational initiatives are showing incredible results." "Mom," Emma interrupted, waving a color swatch. "Focus, we need to decide on the flowers before we can match them to the sustainable decorations." Nathaniel laughed, pulling his daughter onto his lap. "What if we combined both? We could showcase the latest solar technology developments as part of the wedding decor. Make it a celebration of not just our love, but everything we've built together." "That's perfect," Emma exclaimed. "We can have little models of the solar projects in every centerpiece, and maybe the place cards could be made from recycled materials from our first installations." Lucy watched them brainstorm, her heart full. The ring on her finger caught the sunlight, sending rainbow reflections dancing across her desk. It was fitting, she thought, that even their wedding would be a blend of personal joy and their shared mission to change the world. "Oh," Emma suddenly remembered something. "Emily called earlier. She says the Eco-Power Solutions transition is complete and they're ready to start implementing Project Sunrise technology in their existing infrastructure." Nathaniel nodded approvingly. "From competitors to collaborators, it's amazing what people can achieve when they work together instead of against each other. Like us," Emma observed wisely, "we're better together too." A notification popped up on Lucy's computer. Another community had achieved full energy independence using their technology. These alerts were becoming more frequent as Project Sunrise spread across the globe, each one representing thousands of lives improved. "I've been thinking," Nathaniel said, his expression turning thoughtful. "What if we held the wedding at the first community center we converted? Come full circle, so to speak." Lucy's eyes lit up. "The place where we proved Project Sunrise could really work. And where I gave my first presentation," Emma added excitedly. "We could invite all the kids from the original Sunrise Scholars program." The idea felt right, celebrating their love in the place where their shared dream had first become reality. The community center had become a symbol of hope, a prototype that had sparked a global movement. "We could set up educational displays, showing how far we've come," Lucy suggested, her mind already working on the logistics. "Let people see the journey from that first installation to where we are now. And have a pizza-making station for the kids," Emma insisted, making both adults laugh. Nathaniel pulled them both into a hug. "I love how we can't separate our family celebrations from our mission to help others. It's just who we are now." "Speaking of helping others," Lucy said, "the Community Council wants to expand the rooftop garden project to all the buildings in the neighborhood. They're calling it the Sunrise Farms Initiative." Emma perked up. "Can we grow more herbs for pizza?" "We can grow food for the whole community," Nathaniel explained. "Combined with the solar power systems, it would make the neighborhood almost completely self-sufficient." Lucy looked at her wedding planner, then at the implementation reports, and finally at her family. Everything in their lives was intertwined. Personal joy and public service, family love and global impact. She wouldn't have it any other way. "So," Emma said, returning to the most pressing matter at hand, "about the pizza station at the wedding." Lucy and Nathaniel exchanged amused glances. Their wedding, like everything else in their lives, would be unique, a celebration of love that had grown from an unexpected warning into something that was changing the world, one community at a time. The community center had been transformed. Solar-powered fairy lights twinkled overhead. Sustainable decorations crafted by local children adorned every surface, and the air was filled with the happy chatter of guests from all walks of life. Board members mingled with community residents, international delegates chatted with local teachers, and children darted between the educational displays, showing Project Sunrise's global impact. In a quiet room upstairs, Lucy stood before a mirror, her wedding dress a beautiful blend of traditional elegance and modern sustainability. The fabric had been created from recycled materials, and tiny solar-powered lights were woven into the trim, making her literally glow. "Mom, you look like a princess," Emma exclaimed, twirling in her own dress, a junior version of her mother's, complete with matching lights. But a really smart, world-changing princess who knows about solar power. Emily Davis, who had become a close friend and was serving as maid of honor, adjusted Lucy's veil. "The media is calling this the wedding of the future, the first completely sustainable celebration powered entirely by renewable energy." Lucy smiled, touching the necklace Nathaniel had given her months ago, the one with the security pendant that had become a symbol of their journey together. "I still can't believe how much has changed since that morning in the lobby." "I can," Emma said, clutching her faithful teddy bear, now wearing a tiny bow tie for the occasion. "You and Mr. Carter, Dad, were meant to find each other, just like the sun was meant to help people." A knock at the door revealed Michael, now head of global security for Project Sunrise. "Everything's ready downstairs. Nathaniel is waiting and—" He grinned. "The pizza station is fully operational." Emma pumped her fist in victory. "I told you it was a good idea. Is the solar oven working?" "Perfectly," Michael confirmed. "The kids from the first Sunrise Scholars program are already demonstrating how it works to our international guests." Lucy took one last look in the mirror, her heart full of joy and purpose. Today wasn't just about celebrating her love for Nathaniel. It was about celebrating everything they'd built together, the family they'd formed, and the future they were creating. The ceremony was held in the community center's main hall, where they'd first proved Project Sunrise could work. Now screens on the walls showed live feeds from sustainable communities around the world, all celebrating with them, all powered by the same technology that had brought them together. Nathaniel waited at the front, his eyes filling with tears, as Emma walked down the aisle first, sprinkling flower petals grown in their rooftop garden. When Lucy appeared, the entire room seemed to glow brighter, as if the solar-powered lights were responding to the love that radiated between them. Their vows were personal and profound, weaving together their commitment to each other and their shared mission to change the world. Emma stood between them, holding both their hands as they promised to be a family forever. "I never expected to find love while cleaning offices," Lucy said, her voice strong and clear. "But you saw me, really saw me, and showed me that sometimes the most beautiful things come from unexpected places. You and Emma taught me what really matters," Nathaniel replied, squeezing both their hands. "Success isn't about power or money. It's about making a difference, about building something meaningful together." Emma couldn't resist adding her own impromptu vow. "And I promise to always remind you both to try new pizza toppings and never stop helping people." The reception was a perfect blend of celebration and purpose. The pizza station was indeed a hit, with children and adults alike creating their own combinations while learning about solar cooking technology. The sustainable buffet featured food from community gardens around the world, and the dance floor was powered by kinetic energy from the dancers' movements. As evening fell, the solar-powered lights created a magical atmosphere. Nathaniel led Lucy to the dance floor for their first dance, with Emma insisting on joining them halfway through. As they swayed together, the screens showed celebrations continuing in sustainable communities across different time zones. "Look," Emma pointed excitedly, "the kids in India are having a pizza party too, and the ones in Brazil are showing off their new solar playground." Emily approached them with a tablet displaying the latest news. EcoPower Solutions just announced full conversion of their last coal plant to Project Sunrise technology. They're calling it a wedding gift. Nathaniel pulled Lucy closer. The perfect gift. More communities gaining energy independence. Actually, Emma interrupted, I think my gift is better. She ran to get something from behind one of the displays, returning with a large, wrapped package. Inside was a handmade book titled Our Sunrise Story, filled with pictures, news clippings, and Emma's own illustrations documenting their journey from that first warning in the lobby to today. Because every good story should be remembered, Emma explained, especially ones with happy endings. No, mi amor, Lucy corrected gently, hugging her daughter close while reaching for Nathaniel's hand. Not an ending. A beginning. We're just getting started. As if to prove her point, the tablets around the room pinged with notifications. 3 more communities had achieved full energy independence during their wedding celebration. They danced late into the night, surrounded by family, friends, and the warm glow of success. Project Sunrise had transformed from a technological breakthrough into a global movement, but its greatest achievement wasn't measured in kilowatts or efficiency ratings. Its greatest achievement was right here, a family brought together by chance, united by purpose, and now officially bound by love. As Emma had pointed out while planning the wedding, the sun wasn't just a source of power, it was a promise of new beginnings, of light after darkness, of hope for a better tomorrow. And this family, born from a moment of crisis and built on a foundation of trust and shared dreams, would continue to bring that light to communities around the world, one sunrise at a time. 3 months after the wedding, the Carter family had settled into a rhythm as natural as the rising sun. Their penthouse apartment in the sustainable community had become a hub of both family life and global innovation, with Emma's science projects often intermingling with prototype designs for new solar applications. One sunny morning, as Lucy prepared breakfast using ingredients from their rooftop garden, Emma burst into the kitchen waving her tablet excitedly. Mom! Dad! My Sunrise Scholars video about solar-powered transportation just hit 5 million views, and schools in 20 new countries want to start their own programs. Nathaniel looked up from his own tablet, where he'd been reviewing expansion plans. That's fantastic, sweetheart, though I'm not surprised. Your explanation of kinetic energy recovery using that skateboard demonstration was brilliant. Lucy smiled, remembering how Emma had convinced her entire class to participate in the video, turning complex engineering concepts into a fun playground game. Her daughter's natural ability to make science accessible had helped the Sunrise Scholars program spread even faster than they'd anticipated. Speaking of demonstrations, Lucy said, setting a plate of solar-dried fruit and homemade granola in front of Emma, the community council meeting is this afternoon. They want to discuss expanding the rooftop farming initiative. Can I come? Emma asked between bites. I have some ideas about combining the vertical gardens with new solar panel designs. Jenny and I have been working on drawings. Nathaniel and Lucy exchanged proud glances. Their daughter's innovation skills had only grown since they'd become a family, inspired by the combination of Lucy's practical wisdom and Nathaniel's technological vision. Actually, Nathaniel said, pulling up a new document on his tablet, I'd love your input on something else too. The International Development Team has been working on a new project, bringing Project Sunrise technology to remote villages in developing countries. Emma's eyes lit up. Like the places where kids can't study at night because they don't have electricity? Exactly, Lucy nodded, joining them at the table. We're calling it Sunrise Bridge, creating connections between communities through sustainable energy. The kitchen's smart display activated, showing a map of current Project Sunrise implementations worldwide. Glowing points of light marked each community, forming a growing constellation of sustainable energy networks. Look at this. Nathaniel pointed to a new cluster of lights appearing in rural Africa. These villages just came online last night. For the first time, they have reliable power for schools, medical clinics, and homes. Emma studied the map thoughtfully. It's like a big family, she observed. All the communities connected together, helping each other just like us. Lucy reached for Nathaniel's hand across the table, touched by their daughter's insight. "That's a beautiful way to look at it, mi amor." "Oh," Emma suddenly remembered something. "Ms. Davis asked if you could both come to Career Day next week. She wants you to talk about how families can work together to make the world better." "Of course we'll come," Nathaniel assured her. "Maybe we can bring some of the new educational prototypes to demonstrate." "And pizza?" Emma asked hopefully, making both parents laugh. "Maybe not pizza this time," Lucy said, "but we could show them the new solar cooking systems we're developing for the Sunrise Bridge program." The morning sun streamed through their energy-efficient windows, catching the ring on Lucy's finger and the matching pendant necklaces they all wore. These simple pieces of jewelry had become symbols of their journey, from a warning in a lobby to a global movement for sustainable change. Nathaniel's phone buzzed with a message from Emily. The United Nations was requesting a presentation on Project Sunrise's impact on global development. They specifically wanted Emma to participate, recognizing the importance of youth leadership in environmental innovation. "They want me to speak at the UN?" Emma's eyes widened. "Can I wear my Sunrise Scholars jacket?" "So you can wear whatever makes you feel confident," Lucy assured her. "Just be yourself, that's what makes people listen." "Like when I warned Dad about the bad people?" Emma asked. "I was just being myself then too." Nathaniel pulled her into a hug. "Exactly like that. You trusted your instincts and spoke up. And look what happened. You didn't just save me, you helped start something that's saving communities around the world." The kitchen's smart display updated again, showing more lights appearing across the global map. Each point represented families gaining access to clean energy, children being able to study at night, communities growing stronger together. "We should celebrate," Emma declared. "Maybe with a solar-cooked pizza." Lucy laughed, pulling her daughter and husband into a group hug. "How about we save the pizza for after the community council meeting? I hear they're very interested in your vertical garden ideas." As they prepared for their day, Emma gathering her presentation materials, Lucy reviewing community proposals, and Nathaniel coordinating with international teams, their home buzzed with the energy of purpose and love. The view from their windows showed a city transforming, solar panels glinting in the morning light, community gardens flourishing on rooftops, and children heading to schools powered by the same sun that had brought this family together. They had built something remarkable, not just a sustainable energy network, but a new way of thinking about community, family, and the future. And it had all started with a child's courage to speak up and an adult's wisdom to listen. The community center buzzed with excitement as residents gathered for the first anniversary celebration of Project Sunrise's launch. The same space that had hosted Nathaniel and Lucy's wedding was now filled with displays showcasing a year of global impact, children's science projects, and the results of their sustainable community initiatives. Emma, now a poised 9-year-old, stood confidently at the center's podium, addressing a room full of international delegates, community members, and fellow Sunrise scholars. "1 year ago, we proved that solar power could change lives," she began, her voice clear and strong. "But what we really proved is that when people work together and trust each other, anything is possible." Lucy watched from the side of the stage, feeling Nathaniel's arm slip around her waist. Their daughter had grown so much in the past year, not just in height, but in confidence and purpose. The shy little girl who had once hidden in maintenance rooms was now a leading voice for youth environmental education. The Sunrise Scholars Program has now reached over 2 million students worldwide, Emma continued, clicking through her presentation. And our new Sunrise Bridge initiative has brought sustainable power to communities in 43 countries. The screens behind her showed images of transformed communities, rural villages with solar-powered schools, urban neighborhoods with thriving rooftop gardens, children learning and playing with sustainable technology. Each image represented countless lives improved, countless futures brightened. "But my favorite part," Emma said, her face lighting up, "isn't just the technology. It's the way Project Sunrise brings people together, like it brought my family together." She gestured to her parents, and Lucy felt tears welling up as she remembered their journey. Nathaniel squeezed her hand, both of them thinking of that fateful morning in the lobby that had changed everything. After Emma's presentation, the celebration moved to the community garden on the center's roof, another successful initiative that had spread throughout the city. Children demonstrated solar-powered irrigation systems while parents shared recipes using locally grown produce. "Remember when I insisted on a pizza station at your wedding?" Emma asked, joining her parents by the garden's edge. "Now look, solar-powered pizza ovens are helping feed communities everywhere. You've always had good instincts," Nathaniel smiled, ruffling her hair, "just like when you knew I needed to be warned about that meeting." Emily Davis approached them, tablet in hand. "The latest numbers are in. Project Sunrise has reduced global carbon emissions by 12% in just 1 year. The UN is calling it the most successful sustainable energy initiative in history." "And it all started with a little girl and her teddy bear," Lucy said, softly pulling Emma close. "Speaking of which," Emma said mysteriously, "I have a surprise for you both." She ran to her backpack and returned with her faithful teddy bear, now sporting a slightly worn bow tie from the wedding. "I've been keeping a new secret in here," she explained, reaching into the same seam where she'd once hidden Olivia's encryption key and later Lucy's wedding ring. This time she pulled out a carefully folded piece of paper. "What's this?" Nathaniel asked as Emma handed it to them. "My citizenship project for school," she explained proudly. "We had to write about how we'd make the world better. I wrote about how love is like solar power. There's an endless supply, it gets stronger when you share it, and it can light up the whole world." Lucy and Nathaniel read the essay together, their hearts swelling with pride and love. Emma had written about their family's journey, about how trust and courage had sparked a global movement, and about her dream of a world where every community was connected through sustainable energy and shared purpose. "Ms. Thompson said I should submit it to the International Youth Science Journal," Emma added. "But I wanted you to read it first, because even though Project Sunrise helps lots of people, the best part of this whole story is that we became a family." Nathaniel lifted Emma into his arms, just as he had the day she'd saved him from Olivia's trap. "You're right, sweetheart. All the success, all the innovations, they're wonderful, but nothing compares to what we have together. The sun was setting over the city, but the garden glowed with sustainable lighting powered by the day's collected solar energy. Below them, their transformed community hummed with life and purpose. In the distance, they could see other rooftop gardens and solar installations spanning the horizon, a testament to how far they'd come. "So," Emma said, a familiar twinkle in her eye, "since it's our anniversary celebration, could we maybe have pizza for dinner?" Lucy laughed, wrapping her arms around her family. "I think that's a perfect way to celebrate." As they stood together in the garden they'd helped create, surrounded by the community they'd helped transform, their love shone as brightly as the sustainable lights illuminating the city. Project Sunrise had changed the world, but it had done something even more remarkable. It had brought together 3 hearts that now beat as one, proving that the most powerful energy of all is the light of love that glows within a family. The International Conference Hall at the United Nations buzzed with anticipation. Representatives from countries around the world had gathered to hear about the next phase of Project Sunrise, but the speaker they were most excited to see wasn't Nathaniel Carter or any of his executives. It was a 9-year-old girl in a Sunrise Scholars jacket. Emma stood backstage, clutching her trusty teddy bear while Lucy adjusted her badge. "Remember, mi amor, just be yourself. That's what makes you special. Like when I tell stories about our family to help other kids understand solar power," Emma asked, her confidence growing with her mother's encouraging smile. Nathaniel joined them, having just finished his preliminary presentation about Project Sunrise's global impact. "Exactly. Your way of connecting technology with real human experiences is what makes people listen." The main hall screens displayed images of Project Sunrise communities worldwide. Schools powered by solar playgrounds, hospitals running on clean energy, farms flourishing with sustainable irrigation. But it was the smaller personal stories that had captured global attention. Children studying under reliable lights for the first time, families starting small businesses with sustainable power, communities growing stronger together. "Ladies and gentlemen," the moderator announced, "please welcome Emma Carter, Global Youth Ambassador for Project Sunrise, and founder of the Sunrise Scholars Program. As Emma walked onto the stage, her parents watched with pride. She carried herself with a confidence that came from knowing she was making a real difference in the world. "My story began with a warning," Emma started, her clear voice carrying through the hall. "I was just a little girl with a teddy bear who overheard something bad. But when I chose to speak up, I didn't just save one person, I helped start something that would save communities." The audience leaned forward, captivated by her sincerity and wisdom beyond her years. "Project Sunrise isn't just about solar power," she continued, clicking through her presentation. "It's about believing that everyone deserves a chance to shine. In my old neighborhood, we used to worry about electricity bills. Now, we grow food on our roof and teach other communities how to do the same." She showed pictures of the original pilot programs, then their expanding impact. "The Sunrise Scholars started with my science class, trying to make solar energy fun. Now we have millions of kids around the world inventing new ways to use sustainable power. Last month, a 10-year-old in Kenya designed a solar-powered water purification system for her village. A 12-year-old in Brazil created a sustainable cooling system for his community center." Lucy squeezed Nathaniel's hand as they watched their daughter inspire world leaders with the same enthusiasm she'd once used to convince them about pizza toppings. "But the best inventions," Emma said, her voice softening, "come from love. My mum taught me that helping others makes us stronger. My dad showed me that big changes start with small acts of trust. Together, they proved that when we combine love with purpose, we can light up the whole world." The presentation screens shifted to show real-time data from Project Sunrise implementations globally. Points of light represented communities connected through sustainable energy, forming constellations of hope across continents. "Every light you see is a family who can now read together at night," Emma explained. "A student who can study after sunset, a community that grows stronger because they control their own power, both electrical and personal." She reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out her teddy bear. "I still keep my special bear with me because he reminds me how everything changed. He helped me save my dad, held my mum's wedding ring, and now he travels the world with me, meeting other kids who want to make a difference." The audience, composed of hardened diplomats and world leaders, found themselves moved by this child's pure vision and unwavering determination. "Project Sunrise works because it starts with people, not just technology," Emma concluded. "In my family, we say that love is like solar power. It's renewable, sustainable, and grows stronger when you share it. So today, I'm asking all of you to help us share it even further." She unveiled the next phase of their global initiative, a comprehensive plan to bring sustainable energy to every community that wanted it, powered by local leadership and youth involvement. "Because every sunrise brings new possibilities," she said, her voice strong and clear, "and when we work together, those possibilities are endless." The standing ovation that followed wasn't just for Emma's presentation. It was for the hope she represented, the proof that positive change could start with something as simple as a child's courage to speak up. Backstage, Lucy and Nathaniel enveloped their daughter in a proud embrace. "You were amazing, sweetheart," Nathaniel whispered. Emma beamed, but her mind was already moving forward. "Can we get pizza to celebrate? I had this idea about solar-powered food trucks that could help feed communities during emergencies." Lucy laughed, sharing a loving look with Nathaniel. Their daughter never stopped thinking of ways to help others, turning every achievement into an opportunity for further innovation. As they left the conference hall, delegates approached them with commitments to support Project Sunrise's expansion. But Emma's attention was caught by a group of children from the local Sunrise Scholars chapter, eager to share their own ideas for sustainable projects. "Go ahead," Lucy encouraged, watching Emma run to join her peers. "That's where the real change happens. One child inspiring another, just like ripples in a pond, or rays from the sun," Nathaniel added softly, holding his wife close as they watched their daughter spread her light to others. Back in their sustainable community, life had settled into a beautiful rhythm of purpose and love. The rooftop garden of their building had become a model for urban agriculture. while the community center buzzed with constant activity from Sunrise Scholars programs and sustainable technology demonstrations. One evening, as the family enjoyed dinner on their terrace, Emma was excitedly sharing news from her global network of young innovators. The Sunrise Scholars in Australia invented a new way to store solar energy using recycled materials, she reported, barely pausing between bites of her solar-cooked meal. And the team in Argentina created a system to help farmers predict weather patterns using our sustainable monitoring stations. Lucy and Nathaniel listened proudly, still amazed by how their daughter had transformed from a quiet observer into a global leader for youth innovation. The Sunrise Scholars program had become more than just an educational initiative. It was a movement, empowering children around the world to become active participants in their community's sustainable future. "That reminds me," Nathaniel said, pulling up a document on his tablet. "The board approved our proposal for the Sunrise Future Fund. We're setting aside a portion of all Project Sunrise profits to support young innovators in developing their ideas." Emma's eyes lit up, like a scholarship program. "Even better," Lucy explained. "It's a commitment to support sustainable innovation for generations to come. Any child with an idea for helping their community can apply for funding and mentorship." The sun was setting over the city, but their terrace remained comfortably lit by the day's stored solar energy. Below them, the streets glowed with sustainable lighting, and rooftop gardens dotted the skyline like green jewels. "Remember when I used to hide in the maintenance room?" Emma asked, looking out over their transformed neighborhood. "I was so shy back then, but I knew I had to warn Dad about the bad people." "You've always had courage when it matters most," Nathaniel said softly, reaching for both Emma's and Lucy's hands. "You showed me that the most valuable things in life aren't in boardrooms or bank accounts. They're in the moments we choose to help others." Lucy nodded, thinking of her own journey from cleaning offices to directing global community initiatives. Life has a way of putting us exactly where we need to be, even if we don't understand it at the time. Emma pulled out her faithful teddy, Bear, now sporting a collection of Sunrise Scholars pins from around the world. "I think he knew all along," she said seriously. "That's why he helped me hide the encryption key and Dad's wedding ring." The family laughed together, remembering how their story had unfolded, from a desperate warning to a global movement, from strangers to an unshakable family unit. "Speaking of family," Lucy said, sharing a meaningful look with Nathaniel, "we have some news to share." Emma perked up immediately. "Is it about the new sustainable transportation system, or the expanded school program, or—" "Actually," Nathaniel interrupted gently, "it's about our family specifically. How would you feel about becoming a big sister?" The joy that exploded across Emma's face rivaled the brightness of any sunrise. "Really? When? Can I teach the baby about solar power? Will they get their own Sunrise Scholars jacket?" "One question at a time, mi amor," Lucy laughed, placing a hand on her still flat stomach. "But yes, in about 7 months our family will grow a little bigger." Emma jumped up and ran inside, returning moments later with her tablet. "We need to start planning. The baby's room can have stars like mine, but maybe with different constellations. And we can use the new smart cradle design the Tokyo Sunrise Scholars developed." As they watched their daughter excitedly plan for the new addition to their family, Lucy and Nathaniel marveled at how far they'd come. Project Sunrise had transformed from a technological breakthrough into a global movement, but its greatest achievement was the family it had helped create. The city lights twinkled below them, each one representing a life touched by their work. But the brightest light of all was right here on their terrace, the love that had grown from a moment of trust between a little girl and a stranger, blossoming into something that would illuminate generations to come. Emma was already making lists of solar-powered baby accessories and educational toys, her innovative mind combining her love for sustainability with her excitement about becoming a big sister. "One thing's for certain," Nathaniel murmured to Lucy, watching their daughter's enthusiasm. "This baby will grow up knowing they can change the world, just like their big sister. And they'll know that love, like solar power, is an endless resource," Lucy added, leaning into her husband's embrace while Emma continued her excited planning. As night fell over their sustainable community, the Carter family's terrace remained bright, lit not just by stored solar power, but by the eternal light of love, purpose, and the promise of an even brighter tomorrow. Spring had painted the city's rooftop gardens in vibrant colors, and the Carter family's sustainable community was buzzing with excitement. Not just because Project Sunrise had recently achieved its goal of powering 100 million homes worldwide, but because the EE community was preparing to welcome its newest member. Lucy, now 7 months pregnant, sat in what would be the baby's room, watching Emma and Nathaniel put the finishing touches on a special mobile they designed together. Solar-powered stars and planets twinkled gently, casting warm patterns on the walls. "And this constellation," Emma explained, adjusting one of the stars, "is Orion. The Sunrise scholars in Chile helped me program it to match the real star positions." The room was a perfect blend of comfort and innovation, the result of Emma's enthusiasm for both sustainable technology and being a big sister. She'd worked with her fellow Sunrise scholars to create unique features for the nursery, from temperature-regulating wall panels to a smart monitoring system that used minimal energy. "The baby's going to love it," Lucy said, rubbing her growing belly, "just like they already love listening to their big sister's voice." Emma rushed over to kneel beside her mother's chair, placing her hands gently on Lucy's stomach. "I was telling the baby about our latest project today. We're helping communities in the Amazon rainforest install sustainable power systems that don't harm any trees." Nathaniel sat beside them, marveling at how their family had grown and evolved. Speaking of projects Emily called earlier, the United Nations voted unanimously to adopt Project Sunrise's community-based implementation model as the global standard for sustainable development. "That means every new community will use our friendly approach?" Emma asked excitedly. "With local leaders and kid ambassadors and everything?" "Exactly," Lucy confirmed. "They've seen how much more successful projects are when communities feel ownership and children are involved in the planning." The baby kicked, making Emma giggle. "See, even the baby agrees. I think we're going to have another solar energy expert in the family." As if on cue, their home smart system activated the evening lighting sequence, a gentle transition using stored solar energy that mimicked natural sunset colors. Through the windows, they could see similar systems activating across the city, creating a beautiful tapestry of sustainable living. "Oh," Emma suddenly remembered something. "I almost forgot to tell you. My science project about multi-generational sustainable communities won first place. Ms. Thompson said it's going to be part of the new Sunrise Scholars curriculum." Nathaniel pulled his daughter into a proud hug. "That's wonderful, sweetheart. What was your favorite part of the project?" "I wrote about our family," Emma explained, reaching for her ever-present teddy bear, "about how one small action, like warning someone about danger, can grow into something huge, like ripples in a pond, but with solar power and love." Lucy felt tears welling up, her pregnancy hormones amplifying her emotional response to Emma's words. Their story had indeed grown far beyond anything they could have imagined that fateful morning in the lobby. The baby moved again, more actively this time, and Emma's eyes widened with delight. "I think they're dancing. Maybe they're excited about the new solar playground design we're testing at school. Or maybe," Nathaniel suggested, helping Lucy to her feet, "they're hungry. How about we try out that new solar cooker the Brazilian team sent us?" "Pizza?" Emma asked hopefully, making both parents laugh. "Some things never change," Lucy said fondly, following her family to their state-of-the-art sustainable kitchen. As they prepared dinner together, Emma shared more details about her award-winning science project. She'd interviewed community members about how Project Sunrise had changed their lives, collected data on educational improvements in areas with Sunrise Scholars programs, and even created a prediction model for future sustainable development. "The best part," she said, carefully arranging toppings on her section of the pizza, "is that other kids are already using my research to start new programs in their communities. A girl in Mexico City used my model to convince her school to install solar panels, and now they're teaching other schools how to do it too." The kitchen's smart display showed a notification, another milestone achieved. Project Sunrise's millionth solar-powered home in Africa had just come online, bringing clean energy to a remote village. "Look," Emma pointed excitedly. "That's where my friend Amara lives. Her Sunrise Scholars team designed special solar panels that can withstand sandstorms." As they watched the celebration footage from the village, Lucy felt the baby move again. She placed one hand on her belly and the other on Emma's shoulder, overwhelmed with love for both her children, one who had already changed the world and one who would grow up in the brighter future they were creating. Nathaniel wrapped his arms around his family, his heart full. From the window, they could see their community thriving in the evening light, rooftop gardens flourishing, children playing in solar-powered parks, neighbors gathering in sustainably lit common areas. "You know what this means?" Emma asked, her eyes twinkling with familiar enthusiasm. "The baby's going to need their own special Sunrise Scholars jacket, maybe with built-in solar-powered warming for winter. I should start designing it right away." Lucy and Nathaniel exchanged amused glances as Emma rushed to get her tablet, already sketching ideas for sustainable baby clothing. Their daughter's innovative spirit, combined with her boundless love, had not only transformed their lives but had helped create a movement that was transforming the world. The baby kicked again, as if agreeing with their big sister's excitement, and Lucy smiled. This child would be born into a world of possibilities, a world where sustainable living was the norm, where communities supported each other, and where even the smallest voice could spark tremendous change. Just like the sunrise that inspired their journey, their family's light would continue to grow, touching lives and illuminating the path toward a brighter tomorrow. The community center's great hall was filled with sunlight and laughter as people gathered for a very special occasion. 2 months after the birth of Hope Carter, the newest member of the family, the center was hosting a dual celebration, the naming ceremony for the baby and the 5-year anniversary of Project Sunrise. Emma, now a poised 10-year-old, stood proudly beside her parents as they introduced her baby sister to the community. Hope lay peacefully in Lucy's arms, wearing a specially designed sustainable onesie that Emma had created with her Sunrise Scholars team, complete with tiny solar-powered twinkling stars that matched the mobile in her nursery. 5 years ago, Nathaniel addressed the gathered crowd. "A little girl's courage to speak up changed not just my life but the lives of millions around the world. Today we celebrate not only our newest family member, but the growing family of communities united by Project Sunrise." The hall screens displayed live feeds from sustainable communities worldwide, all celebrating their own transformations. From rural villages to urban centers, the impact of their work was visible in the smiling faces and thriving environments shown on screen. "Hope's middle name is Emma," Lucy announced, making their older daughter beam with pride. "Because without Emma's bravery and vision, none of this would have been possible. She taught us that the power of love, like the power of the sun, can illuminate even the darkest corners of our world." Emma stepped forward, her faithful teddy bear, now sporting both his wedding bow tie and a special big sister badge, tucked securely under her arm. "When I was little," she began, her voice clear and confident, "I used to hide in quiet places and watch people. That's how I learned about the bad things that were going to happen to my dad. Before he was my dad. But now I don't have to hide anymore. None of us do. Because when we work together and trust each other, we can build something amazing." She gestured to the screens, where more communities were joining the celebration. Project Sunrise isn't just about solar power or sustainable living. It's about believing in possibilities. It's about trusting that even the smallest voice can make the biggest difference. Baby Hope chose that moment to wake up, her tiny hands reaching toward the sunlight streaming through the windows. Emma rushed to her sister's side, gently taking one of those small hands in hers. "See? She already knows about solar power," Emma announced, making everyone laugh. "I've been reading her my Sunrise Scholars Handbook every night, and I think it's working." Nathaniel wrapped his arms around his family, his heart so full it felt like it might burst. From that terrifying morning in the lobby to this moment of pure joy, their journey had been extraordinary. But the most precious gift wasn't the global success of Project Sunrise. It was the love that had grown between them. as natural and powerful as the sun itself. Emily Davis, now Global Director of Sunrise Scholars Programs, approached with a special presentation. "We have another announcement to make," she said, smiling. "The Emma Carter Sustainability Scholarship has been officially launched. Every year it will support young innovators who show the same courage and vision that started our movement." Emma's eyes widened. "Really? Kids from anywhere in the world can apply?" "From everywhere," Lucy confirmed, "because just like you taught us, amazing ideas can come from unexpected places." The celebration continued as community members shared their own stories of transformation. The original neighborhood that had hosted their first pilot program had become a model for sustainable urban living, inspiring similar transformations worldwide. Hope dozed peacefully in her mother's arms, while Emma excitedly showed visitors the latest Sunrise Scholars projects, from advanced solar storage systems to community education programs. The little girl who had once hidden in maintenance rooms now commanded attention effortlessly, her passion for helping others shining through every word. As evening approached, the sustainable lighting systems activated automatically, bathing the community center in a warm glow. Families gathered in the rooftop garden, where the first seeds of their sustainable revolution had been planted. "You know what this means?" Emma asked, looking at her sleeping sister. "Hope will never know a world without sustainable power. She'll grow up knowing that anything is possible if you believe in it and work together." Lucy and Nathaniel exchanged loving glances over their daughters' heads. "That's your legacy, mi amor," Lucy said softly. "You showed us all how to believe in a better future." "Our legacy," Nathaniel corrected, pulling his family close. "Because the greatest power isn't in the technology or the innovations, it's in the love that inspired them." As the sun set on their celebration, the Carter family stood together in their rooftop garden, surrounded by the community they'd helped build. The city sparkled with sustainable light, each glowing point representing a life touched by their story. Emma held her sister while explaining to nearby children how the garden's solar irrigation system worked. Hope's tiny hand reached up, catching a beam of fading sunlight, and Emma smiled. "See," she whispered to her sister. "That's what Dad always says. Each sunrise brings new possibilities, and now you're part of our sunrise story too." The future stretched before them, bright with promise. Project Sunrise would continue to grow, touching more lives and transforming more communities. But its heart would always be here, in the love of a family that had found each other through an act of courage, and in the legacy of a little girl who had dared to speak up and change the world. For the Carter family, every day brought a new sunrise, a new chance to make a difference, and as long as there were children like Emma sharing their light with others, that sunrise would be eternal.